Opened a case of arson after a fire destroyed 11 classrooms at Riverlea Secondary School in the west of Johannesburg. Officers say witnesses have shared information suggesting the blaze may have been deliberately started on Sunday. The fire erupted at in an unused classroom and spread through the building, destroying an entire block. Mungezi Koko reports.
Education authorities say they suspect that there were people on school grounds on the day of the fire. Police say a team of senior detectives, including members of the Forensic Science Laboratory, will be investigating the incident and track down those responsible. Spokesperson Mavela Masondo.
The police are appealing to anyone who might have information that can help in the investigation. Information can also be given anonymously via my SAPS app.
The Education Department says about 230 pupils will be accommodated in mobile classrooms when they return to school on Monday. Gauteng Education MEC Matome Chilwane has condemned the incident, describing it as a senseless attack on the future of the country. Mungezi Koko, Eyewitness News.
The Judicial Conduct Tribunal against suspended Western Cape Judge Mushtaq Parker is expected to hear closing arguments in the investigation against him today. 10 judges of the same division laid complaints against the judge following his retraction of a previous allegation and deposing of an affidavit in which he claimed former Western Cape Judge President John Hlophe assaulted him in his chambers. The second complainant against the suspended judge was lodged by the Cape Bar Council over his failure to disclose a deficit of 8 million rand in the trust account of a law firm he was connected with during his 2017 interview for judicial appointment. Parker was suspended in 2020 following a resolution by the Judicial Service Commission making him the first judge to be suspended in the country's constitutional democracy. Zuleka Qotashe has more.
During the hearing in February, several judges delivered similar testimonies that Judge Mushtaq Parker told them he was assaulted by then Western Cape Judge President Dr. John Hlophe. So bad was the assault, said Parker, that it damaged the key that was lodged in the cupboard he was allegedly shoved into. According to testimony presented before the tribunal, Hlophe allegedly launched a physical attack on Parker, accusing him of making sexual advances towards his then-wife, who worked in the same division, Judge Kayat Sali Hlophe. However, in March 2020, 3 months later, Parker, in a letter responding to a complaint by his colleagues, seemingly retracted his initial statement. The sudden U-turn shocked the colleagues he confided in, leading to the complaint. Parker could face impeachment if found guilty of gross misconduct. Zoleka Qotashe, Eyewitness News.
Firefighters in Cape Town say at least 16 or more than 60% of the flames are under control. A wildfire broke out in Silvermine on Friday and got worse over the weekend due to dense and dry vegetation in Tokai. Fire crews have been on a 12-hour rotation, working active fire lines with helicopters taking off at first light this morning to continue water bombing the blaze. People have been evacuated from 200 households. The city's Safety and Security MMC, JP Smith, says no lives are in danger and no property has been destroyed.
The fire is about 65% under control. Many of the parts around Boys Drive, Chapman's Peak, and other parts of the fire which is now comfortably under control. So most of the fire at this stage under control.
And the leader of Canada's Liberal Party, Mark Carney, has given a victory speech after an election win and he's charged at US President Donald Trump.
America wants our land, our resources, our water, our country. Never. But these are not idle threats. President Trump is trying to break us so that America can own us. That will never ever happen.
It remains too close to call whether he will secure a majority in Parliament or will have to rely on other parties to govern. The projected result is a stunning turnaround for the Liberal Party, which was languishing in the polls just 3 months ago before Carney replaced Justin Trudeau as leader and US President Donald Trump upended relations and became the defining issue of the campaign. Trump sparked a wave of nationalism across Canada by threatening to annex the country and placing stiff tariffs. Gold is trading at $3,319.24 an ounce. The rand is at 18.68 to the dollar, 24.88 to the pound, 21.23 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $65.36 a barrel.
And in the traffic, we've got delays on the M1 North between Boysons Road and Car Street while travelling in Mayfair. An accident reported along Main Reef Road right near Crownwood Road, already causing delays there. There's also queuing traffic on the N1 South between New Road and the Baklu interchange due to an earlier accident.
A partly cloudy day in store for Gauteng. The temperatures will peak at highs between 24 and 25 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour. Gauteng police have opened a case of arson after a fire destroyed 11 classrooms at Rivoli Secondary School in the west of Johannesburg.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
You're with Clement Manyathela
On 702.
Let's Walk the Talk, streaming on the Prime Media Plus app,
DSTV channel 856.
92.7 and 106 FM.
Seven minutes after 9 o'clock. Dumelang, Sanbonani, good morning, Goeiemorgen, bonjour. Welcome to the Tuesday edition of the Clement Manyathela Show on this 29th day of the month of April. Thank you for joining us here on 702. Thank you for joining the 702 family this morning. We always love being in your company. I hope you're well. I hope you're well as well there on YouTube. If you are watching us on the 702 YouTube page, hello to you as well. Remember, you can post your comments there. If you want to comment on the 702 open line, I'll read some of those from YouTube. Alternatively, you can call us on 011-883-0702. You can send us a WhatsApp voice note as well on 072-702-1702. It's 100 days since Donald Trump returned to the White House as U.S. president. It's 100 days of his second term, and already it feels like it's been, what? Feels like he's been in office for about 4 years. Hey? He's been one decisive leader, whether you agree with his decisions or not. He promised certain things before he came into office, and he's been implementing that, as disastrous as some of those decisions have been. And I wonder what your reflections of his 100 days are. I think the worst is yet to come. What we have seen in the last 100 days is only the beginning. What do you think? Do you think the worst is over? Do you think what he has done in the first 100 days has made America great again? And what do you think lies ahead? Speaking of what lies ahead, what actually lies ahead for this country? We don't have a budget. First budget failed. Second budget failed. We're now waiting for budget 3.0. Third time lucky, perhaps? Thanks to the DA and EFF court cases, the VAT increase has now been suspended by an order of court before its implementation on the 1st of May. Isn't that what we told you? That scrapping VAT in such a short space of time is not feasible? Isn't that what we said? That it's unrealistic to think you can just reverse VAT just like that when you have only a few days left before the 1st of May. That's why the Finance Minister agreed with the DA and the EFF in court that we need a court order to suspend the VAT hike. Remember, that fiscal framework that Action SA, Rise Mzansi and Bossa and others voted in support of, it's now been set aside effectively. It doesn't exist anymore. The minister has to start from scratch. The fiscal framework and revenue proposals is part of the 3 budget instruments, and it's actually the foundational document for the national budget. That whole process must now be redone. Anyway, if you have a moment, please go read the Finance Minister's court documents. I finished reading them yesterday morning, and they help you understand the lies that have been told. And here's the first lie that was told by the ANC. Mdumiseni Ntuli, who is the chief whip of the ANC and is the man basically who was leading the negotiations even around the budget impasse, he told me on Face the Nation last week that Enoch Godongwana knew nothing about a court settlement discussion with the DA. And I bet you the smaller parties believed him. Listen to what he told me last week.
Have you spoken to your own minister and asked if this is really the case?
Which one about?
Minister of Finance, and say, are you asking for a out-of-court settlement with the DA?
Well, when this thing was went out about the DA, because the DA issued a statement, and we knew that the DA was going to react because this is naturally going to be embarrassing for them.
Yeah, but have you asked him? Have you said to him?
I'm coming to that point. So when that came, we sent it to I sent that to Enoch. You know he's overseas. To say to him, now we are being told that there is another, this is a statement of the DA. And his response to me is that I don't know what is this about.
A big, fat lie. He says the Minister of Finance told him that, I don't know what they're talking about. I know nothing about court settlement negotiations underway. It was a lie. And the question now is, did Mdumiseni Ntuli lie to the public on national TV? Or did Enoch Godongwana lie to him? Because the minister in court papers confirms that he was aware that his lawyers, on Treasury's instruction, reached out to parties for a settlement. The second lie is that the minister somehow changed his mind because there were discussions with the smaller parties. Well, when you read the court papers, the minister himself confirms that proposals from all these other parties, Action SA, Bossa, Rise and others, proposals from those parties didn't convince him to drop VAT because, and I quote here, they would not provide sufficient revenue. I therefore had no option but to go ahead with the VAT increase, end quote. Until, of course, this court case that made him change his mind. The third lie is that the ANC and smaller parties believe that scrapping the VAT won't lead to austerity. The minister himself confirms, contrary to what the ANC and smaller parties have said, that scrapping VAT hike will likely lead to austerity. It will lead to cuts in key programs and departments. And I quote here, he said, a drastic reduction in government spending is inevitable, end quote. In those court papers, he says Treasury now faces a medium-term revenue shortfall of about 75 billion rand. Which necessitates decreasing government expenditure, which will likely affect service delivery. Because borrowing more is not a viable option, as we have discussed before on the show. I've tweeted all these things that I'm sharing with you in the court documents, but I think you should do yourself a favor and go read the Finance Minister's affidavit that he sent to court this past weekend. It's really fascinating. Now, in light of that, do you think it makes sense for this finance minister to stay on the job? The EFF says he has to go. The DA seemingly has also lost confidence in him as well. As a South African, do you think he has handled this matter well? Do you think he must be given a second chance? Or do you think it's time for him to go? Give us a call on 011-883-0702. I'm interested in your thoughts on WhatsApp as well on 072-702-1702. I also want to know how much you have lost as a business, because that's something we often forget about. Focus on the politics. But there are businesses that have lost a lot of money as a result of the mishandling of this VAT issue. A lot of retailers and banks are now counting the cost because they spent a lot of money preparing for changes that will now no longer take effect. There are complex IT system updates that had to be done. That's why SARS has also acknowledged that it may not be possible for all vendors to change this VAT back to 15% by this Thursday, the 1st of May. So there's a grace period that's now been offered of a couple of days after the 1st of May to make the changes. So how have you been affected as a business? And what are you concerned about as a consumer? Give me a call or send me a WhatsApp voice note. Between 10 and 11 o'clock, we're going to be in conversation with the Mayor of Ekurhuleni, Nkosindiphile Xhakaza. We are going to check in with several mayors so that you can raise issues that you have with them concerns that you have in your own metros, and they can also update you on their service delivery programs. Are their coalitions even still stable? So please, if you live in and around Ekurhuleni, I want you to prepare your questions, your inputs. As soon as the mayor comes here at 10 o'clock, I want to go straight to your calls and WhatsApps. The mayor of Ekurhuleni, we start with him today between 10 and 11 o'clock. At 11 o'clock, we are going to do our World of Work feature, and today we're discussing how to negotiate a raise. What do you need to do and prepare before asking for a salary increase? Because asking for that increase can be one of the most daunting conversations, isn't it, in a professional setting? But preparation and timing are key to negotiating effectively. So as an employee, you have to build quite a strong case for your raise. Be clear about your desired salary range and approach the discussion with confidence and professionalism. So how do you do that? What are the things you should be focusing more on? That's at 11 o'clock. 11:30, we do our wealth and health and wellness feature. And today we're going to be discussing hormonal imbalances and how to deal with them. We get affected so much in different ways as a result of hormonal imbalances. I mean, hormones play a crucial role in regulating many essential functions in the body, whether it's metabolism, the mood or even growth and reproductive health. And these chemical messengers become imbalanced. And then after that, a wide range of symptoms then occur, including fatigue, weight loss, mood swings, fertility issues, you name it, erectile dysfunction. And as Bongani was saying earlier, as men, somehow we think we're not that much affected by hormonal imbalances. We are. It's not just women. We are. And some of the issues that we are facing are as a result of those hormonal imbalances. So we're going to try and learn more about that on our health and wellness feature at 11:30. That's the show coming up over the next 3 hours.
Clement Manyathela, streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
How's it, Clement? Kurt here, Madrid. Look, regarding the big Don, it's decisiveness, bruh. We've got a low bar to reference from. So for me, it's about that decisiveness. He said what he's going to do, and he's doing it. That's just plain and simple at the end of the day. That's what we need in South Africa. Can we just get stuff done? Can we stop running around chasing our tails half of the time?
Just get it done. And for me, that's the credit I will always give to Donald Trump. He will get ish done. Whether you disagree with it or not, that's a separate conversation. And my views are clear on Donald Trump's decisions over the last 100 days. I've not agreed. Probably 99% of the things that he's done. But that's not the discussion. He is a decisive leader. And some people may maybe think he's unhinged more than he is decisive. Oh, but can we get politicians who, the things that they're promising you during the election campaign, when they get into office, they are going for it. Whether the markets are going to react or not, whether their favorability ratings is going to go down or not, whether their own colleagues are going to disagree with them or not, whatever they have promised the electorate during campaigning, and they are elected in office because of that electorate, they implement it. You've got to give him credit for that, because that's exactly what he has done since he's come into office.
Morning, Madumecha. It's Mhlengwe here in Bramfisherville. Regarding this whole Minister of Finance call to resign, led by the EFF, I think we all, that 75 billion shortfall, that must be filled or topped up rather. If I was Godongwana, I would have maybe went the same way. So cut the Minister of Finance some slack. We all do mistakes. No one is perfect. We can all learn from this debacle. Nice show as always. Thanks, Lemmy.
Thank you for your contribution. And I think you make a fair point that we must cut him some slack. Maybe. But the difference here is that he doesn't acknowledge that he's made a mistake. And I think that's a difficulty with our politicians, eh? How often do you have politicians come out and acknowledge that, okay, here we messed up? Oh, I nearly used another word. How often do you have politicians who say, we have messed up? It's rare. And even with Enoch Godongwana now, he has not come out to say, I made a mistake, I should have. No. The way in any other democracy, guys, in any other democracy, for a finance minister who has failed to get the support on his budget twice would never be in the job. But this is Saudha, because it's alive with so many possibilities. There's a lot of ish that we tolerate in this country. And that's going to be our downfall. That's why there's so much that just deteriorates, because we tolerate rubbish. It's become part of our nature, because I think maybe we've also been abused so much over the last couple of decades that our bar is so low. The finance minister has not handled this matter in a way any finance minister should have. No. He has fundamentally failed. And I agree with, I've said on air before that I feel like they're putting him under pressure. And in fact, any finance minister with a backbone who realizes and understands the consequences of the fiscal framework would have actually just said, I'm going to step aside and resign because the pressure that I'm being put under is unacceptable. What these parties are forcing me to do, I just can't do. Even his own party. Because the ANC itself knows that we don't have money. The ANC knows that we've got three options here because we need additional revenue. Either you go borrow more, that is absolutely not viable given how much money we spend on interest in loans. And ratings agencies are going to respond to that, which is going to affect other things. It's going to be a ripple effect. That is not a viable option. The second option is that you cut expenditure. Where are you going to cut? Government has been operating on an austerity fiscal framework for a while now. That's why you've had issues with teachers that are not being appointed. That's why you've had issues with doctors who don't have jobs and they're protesting. Nurses who are protesting. Because there are cuts that have been made even in critical government departments that shouldn't be touched. That's why the SNDF, there are complaints. When our soldiers are dying there, they don't have all the necessary equipment they need. We complain, and then the SNDF says, what are we supposed to do? Because there are budget cuts. That is not a viable option. The third option that exists is, well, you raise VAT. Because clearly the ANC government is not interested in wanting to review revenue, to review government spending and implement cuts. So if the finance minister felt that he's being put under pressure by the ANC to somehow find money that the ANC itself knows there's no way you can find that money except through raising VAT, and there's no political will to review spending, then he should have just resigned and said, I'm not going to subject myself to that. He didn't. He stuck around. And then he comes, does media interviews and says, well, it's just too late now. I see the parties are making proposals, but it's just too late. And then he goes to court and he says, I've never made any impression that I'm going to change the VAT Act. Then he releases a statement at the last minute where he creates an impression that, following discussions with the smaller parties. And yet in the court papers, that's not what he says. Under oath, that's not what he says. He has misled the public. He has misled the political parties in the GNU, political parties even outside the GNU. So how do you make a case for someone like that to stay in the job? I'm struggling with that. Nicholas, what are your thoughts? You're calling us from Newcastle. Hi.
Good morning, Clement. You're speaking to Dr. Nicholas Mchali.
Hi, Dr. Nicholas.
Yes, how are you, Clement? Clement, this issue has affected a majority of us. I'm a medical doctor. I was trained in Cuba under the scholarship program from KwaZulu-Natal. I haven't been working since the beginning of this year. And funny enough, there has never been any communication from the department with regards to maybe the budget cuts, with the problems with their finances. So this has affected us a lot, because even now the department is refusing meetings with us, because we are willing to work and volunteer in our hospitals, because we understand the pressure and the difficulties that our people are going through. But they don't want to come into the party. And now with these budget problems, now it's announced 120 doctors 1,200 doctors are going to be employed, but nothing has ever happened.
Yeah, that's what the minister was about to say, that, Nicholas, that the Minister of Health says there's, I think, was it over 1,000 or so? He held a press briefing and he said there are doctors, nurses that are going to be appointed. And he was even praising that budget that included the VAT hike. Well, not praising it, but attributing to that budget is going to make sure that we respond to this. And unfortunately now, Nicholas, and I'm sorry to say, but this development with the VAT hike being scrapped may just complicate things for you guys as doctors. And it's sad to say, but that may very well be the reality. Because the money that was going to pay and go towards employing more of these doctors and nurses and even teachers there in KwaZulu-Natal, that's the money that factored in the VAT hike. Now the VAT hike is going to be scrapped. We're sitting with a 75 billion rand shortfall. There's going to be an impact in some way. And I really hope that the doctors, the nurses, the teachers are not going to be affected by that. But who knows? Now we wait for the finance minister to present his new budget, and let's see what it says. But Nicholas, you raise a fair point there about you as doctors and how that has delayed your own appointments in the public sector. And I wonder what's going to happen now. Thank you so much for your call, Nicholas. All the best. I see we've got Vili Okemp, who's also calling us on the open line. He is the DA national spokesperson. Vili, what are your thoughts? Good morning.
Good morning, Clement. Always nice to speak to you. Clement, we've went through this whole thing with the budget, and a lot of parties came in with a lot of opinions and how to prevent this. As you, and I agree with you 100%, I've got no doubt that it is the court case that the Democratic Alliance brought that finally stopped this VAT hike. Parties that on the 1st of April voted for this VAT increase, to just afterwards come and say, but now we are trying to stop it, is really like people setting their house on fire, then want to claim praise for running with a bucket of water to try and extinguish the flames. They should not have voted for it in the first place. The Democratic Alliance brought an amendment to the fiscal framework meeting, and we were turned down. So I really am very glad that the Democratic Alliance has brought this thing to court, and that now brought certainty to everybody. We must now have a fiscal framework that must be redone, and hopefully we will get to a point where the ANC will now listen to the measures that we've put on the table to see how we can get additional income via SARS. The Commissioner of SARS already indicated that they can lift the capacity of collecting money from 63 to 67%, and that 4% gain will reflect to be roughly 60 billion rand every year. So that already dwarfs the VAT increase. And then we have put cost-cutting measures on the table that has already been calculated to be in the vicinity of 30 billion rand. So we're talking about 90 billion rand of additional income combined with savings. And it is very important that we must emphasize that none of the cost-cutting that we have proposed are for essential services. None of those there must be no cuts at education or at health or at security, policing, etc. There are too many places in this country where we are double paying for stuff, where we've got, for example, ghost workers. At Transnet, they did that ghost worker audit, and they found that at least 10% of the employees there are ghost workers. Imagine what the savings could be if we can implement that across the board in all departments in this country. So this is where we are now, and I hope that everybody has learned their lessons through this and know that communication is of utmost importance and that we must listen to each other, especially when it comes to the proposals of sound economical growth that's been put on the table.
Do you, as the DA, still have confidence in the Finance Minister?
Well, we've got a Deputy Minister of Finance there that can also navigate the process. Unfortunately, he's been ignored up to now, and I hope that the Minister of Finance has learned its lesson, that he must now also take Mr. Asho Sarupan, who is the Deputy Minister of Finance, into his confidence. I think under normal circumstances, in any other healthy democracy in the world, a Finance Minister like Minister Godongwana would have resigned, or he would have been fired. But South Africa is not a normal democracy that you can compare with other countries. I don't think he will resign, and especially I don't think he will resign if the DA asks him to resign. I think that will encourage him to remain. But be that as it may, whether it is Minister Godongwana or anybody else, there must now be a pure effort from everybody to listen to all partners around the table, to really look at cost-cutting measures. I think the ANC is very allergic to cost-cutting because it will have an influence on a lot of cadres that has been benefiting due to improved cost over many years.
Willie Ockham, thanks for your call. He is the DA National Spokesperson, also calling in on the 702 open line to raise his views. What are yours? Give me a call or send a WhatsApp voice note. It's just after 9:30. Swiso has the latest in Eyewitness News headlines. Swiso, hi.
Thanks, Clement. Good morning. The Transport Department is expected to release the 2025 Easter Weekend Road Safety Report this morning. Minister Barbara Creasy and her Deputy Mkhuleko Hlengwa will brief media in Pretoria, where they'll outline the impact of holiday road safety campaigns and deliver the latest statistics on crashes and fatalities. The Judicial Conduct Tribunal against suspended Western Cape Judge Mushtaq Parker is expected to hear closing arguments in the investigation against him today. 10 judges of the same division laid complaints against the judge following his retraction of a previous allegation and deposing of an affidavit in which he claimed former Western Cape Judge President John Hlophe assaulted him in his chambers. And a state of emergency remains in place in Spain, with power almost fully restored, while substations in Portugal are being brought back online and lights coming back on in the capital after mass blackouts. Investigations are currently underway after yesterday's massive power outages that saw widespread disruptions, including in parts of France. And those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 10 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Travelling in Bedfordview, there's been an accident on the N3 South that happened near the Van Buren Road exit. Delays from the Giluli's interchange, bumper-to-bumper traffic there. There's also heavy traffic volumes on the N12 as well as the R24 between Barber Road and the Giluli's interchange. While speaking of the same route, the N3 South at the Giluli's turn-off, roadworks right there at that turn-off causing those massive queues as well. Please be on the lookout and try to avoid. If you're travelling in the Waterfall area, another accident scene reported on the N1 South right near the Baklu interchange. Delays from Allendale Road. There's also queuing traffic on the M1 North between Boyson's Road and Carr Street, while traffic on the M2 West is at a stop and go. This is between Elof Street and Main Reef Road. In the city of Tshwane, we've got some delays reported on the N1 North approaching the Flying Saucer interchange, and then of course some issues reported on the R80 East Mabopane Highway just as you approach Eskia Mpahlele exit. I'll have more updates at the top of the hour.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Africa Milani.
Weekday mornings,
4 to 6.
So when will provinces find out, for example, how much money they're going to be getting? And when will the local governments find out how much money they're going to be getting? And when are we starting to see the departmental debates?
Many of the laws in South Africa take years, not a year, to go through Parliament. So now, if ever then for the budget process it's going to take that long, it means there may not even be a need for the mini budget at the end of October.
Professor Bonge Dumisa, an independent economic analyst.
Africa Milani.
4 to 6 on 702.
702 and ABSA Home Loans are bringing to light the property matters you want to know more about. This Wednesday, we're talking about building your own home rather than buying. So tune into the masterclass with Ekurhuleni Mayor on 702 for an in-depth discussion about all you need to know before taking the decision to build your home from scratch. The masterclass with Ekurhuleni Mayor this Wednesday, brought to you by ABSA Home Loans on 702. ABSA is an authorized financial services and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
Hollywood Bets invites you to witness India's cricket spectacle. Bet 50 Rand or more pre-match on any IPL fixture for a chance to win a share of 100,000 Rand in cash. An additional share of 50,000 Rand is up for grabs if you place an in-play bet for 50 Rand or more. Valid from 20 March to 25 May 2025. Swing into action and experience the cricket fever now. T's and C's apply. Hollywood Sportsbook is a licensed betting operator. Hollywood Bets supports responsible gambling. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counselling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help to 076 675 0710.
When the road says, hey, let's go for a ride, what do? Do you let the moment of exploration pass you by? Or do you take to the tarmac like there's no tomorrow? If you're a Jetor driver, you do. And if not, well, you can. By getting into a bold new Jetor dashing from 4,999 per month or an adventurous Jetor X70 Plus from 5,199 per month. Book a test drive at jetor.coza. T's and C's apply. Jetor. Drive your future.
702.
WhatsApp Clement
on 072
702
1702.
22 minutes before 10 o'clock, it's the 702 open line. Zamani, Maureen, Luba, I'll come to you in a moment. Let's start with your WhatsApp voice notes.
Good morning, Clement. With regards to Donald Trump and his first 100 days, I've never experienced 100 days that has been as long as, watching him make very impulsive decisions over, since he started his term. And my opinion with regards to what happens next, surely he's reflected, surely, he's thought about the implications of some of the decisions that he has made over the past 100 days and, reflecting on watching how the markets have responded to some of the decisions. And hopefully now he won't make such impulsive decisions and he will think about the implications of his decisions before implementing. Lerato from Midrand.
Yeah, Lerato, I hope so too, but this is Donald Trump we're talking about. So maybe you and I are just being naive or we're too hopeful. Toxically positive, maybe we are. But that's what I hope too, Lerato. I really hope that he has reflected. I hope that he has now... I'm hoping that he was testing the waters in the first 100 days. I hope he was just testing the waters and now... he's going to be more thorough and circumspect in his decision making. But then again, this is Donald Trump we're talking about. I don't know if he is capable of any form of reflection. I think when he's set on his ways, he is set on his ways. And it's going to take a lot for him to really change his mind. But let's wait and see. Yeah, let's wait and see.
Hi, Clement, Levi, Edenville. Clement, my take on this whole matter is Enoch Godongwana must definitely go, and we need an independent finance minister. We need a finance minister that is not aligned to any political party. So maybe in the advent of the GNU, they need to come together and decide on a technocrat that is not aligned to a political party. I know it sounds a little bit far-fetched, but we're always going to be compromised in terms of ministers that are trying to play a political role in this instance. And we just need somebody that's going to look out for the best interest of all South Africans at this stage. Thank you.
Thank you. Luba, you are in Ekurhuleni. Good morning. What are your thoughts?
Hi, good morning, Clement. You know what, Clement, regarding the finance minister failing to implement his own fiscal policy for 2025, he should really resign or fall on his sword. I'm going to read a small paragraph on his last year midterm budget. He says, over the medium term, government will focus on maintaining microeconomic stability, implementing structural reforms. Now, how is he going to do that now when his own policy for this year has completely failed? How is he going to implement that microeconomic stability that he said he promised on last year's midterm budget?
Asaz, Luba. Asaz.
There's no way he's going to be able to do that. So basically what he's in the last year's mid-term budget and what he tried to implement just now, recently, is two different things and it's not going to be achievable. Therefore, he needs to resign. Do you understand? And we really can't, we don't have any confidence on this finance minister. Unfortunately, he can't take us forward.
Okay, Luba. Thank you for your thoughts. Luba in Kukule too says, Enoch Godongwana must go. What do you think? Do you have some grace for the minister? Do you perhaps hold a view that he was put under tremendous pressure to do what is not possible, and it's the politics that was really pushing him left, right, center? But then I also think that we need a finance minister with a backbone. Treasury is a significant, sensitive institution, and it needs a finance minister who is going to put politics aside and think about the future and what's best for this country. And I just worry that there are so many businesses out there who have lost millions of rands. Guys, again, I think sometimes we make the mistake of just focusing on the politics. Do you know how many businesses have been scrambling to try and change VAT? Because they were told VAT is going to increase to 15.5%, right? 0.5 percentage point. That's an increase. And then they're just told at the last minute, oh, oopsie, sorry, not anymore. There's a lot of money. There are complex IT systems that there's just so much that goes in. Do we actually understand that there are companies that have lost lots of monies through this scramble? And nobody takes accountability. Nobody has even said, I'm sorry. We acknowledge that we have messed up this entire thing. The handling has been terrible. We are sorry. We know that this has cost you as a business. Have you had any apology coming from the finance minister or government? Hi. Zamani, you're in Davidton. What do you want to say about Donald Trump?
Yes, Clement. I'll be straightforward about Donald Trump. Donald Trump is a man of his word. It's what we called a president that knows what he's doing. He's a nationalist. He set goals and stick on it so that it can be delivered. And then, again, you can see that he's not entertaining what we have in South Africa that we call internationalist. Internationalist is where we are falling on our own sword, where we have a 40% party getting caught with Enoch Godongwana that must resign. If we have anyone close to Donald Trump in South Africa, I think this country is going to be governed very well, because we need a nationalist movement that is going to put its citizens first. And then the things that we are worried about is that when the economy is falling, the great minds must be there to come with an economic ideology that is going to take the country forward. Unfortunately, we've got some of those, but that will be a matter for another day in the radio, Clement, because we've got what we call social capitalism ideology that can save this country and put it in the right direction. We don't need so much. We can make this country to be a first world country within 5 years, because all we need is service delivery, infrastructure that are going to be taken care of. We don't need to build a lot. We've got those in South Africa, but we've got an incapable government. We've seen it that people have lost its confidence, where they given the incompetent ANC, which are called another national crisis, 40%. It's showing us that we are in the right direction. Why is it that the parties can't combine and stop this nonsense that they are doing? Just give him the ticket to go. Give him that ticket to go. He must go. Yes, let the country down, Bungan.
Okay, Zamani in Davidton. Thank you so much for your thoughts. It's 14 minutes now before 10 o'clock, and then more of your calls and WhatsApp voice notes.
Your voice,
Your station.
your open line
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela.
on 702.
How's it, Clem? Trevor, yeah. Just about Donald Trump getting things done. He said he was going to stop the war in Ukraine and the war in Gaza on day one, which he hasn't done. He said he was going to decrease the price of food and inflation, which he has not done. I suppose the list goes on and on.
Clement, clearly the minister needs to be fired, really. He's arrogant. If people only finding out now that Godongwana is arrogant, and it's unfortunate for them. When it comes to business, I don't care whether business lose their money. They deserve to lose their money. Because they didn't care about South Africans themselves. They were so in a hurry to raise that VAT, sending us messages 2 weeks before the 1st of May, saying that the VAT is going to increase. I've never even heard, even once, business coming out, speaking for the people that we don't want this VAT increase because people are going to suffer. They were ready to pin us down as well, so they deserve it. Many businesses in South Africa have benefited from the ANC corruption and this tender system, so they deserve to lose that money. I don't care about business. Don't tell me anything about the business. They are ready to buy tables from Ramaphosa's breakfast or whatever, dinners that he hosts, business dinners and business breakfast and whatever. They are ready to buy a table for 10 million, not caring about the poor who are getting hungry every day. Cindy.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for your thoughts. Yeah. The other one, earlier said we could be a first world country in 5 years. Yeah. Is it possible? If we had a leader like Donald Trump, apparently. All right. Yeah, keep your thoughts coming. Let's go to Maureen, who's calling us from Kempton Park. Maureen, what are your thoughts on the finance minister? Hi.
Thobela Madimich.
Tobel.
Azuba, it's people like you who silence the empty verses that have been making noise for the past week. The likes of Herman Mashawa and Musmaiman, who were misleading us. You know, after I went through your post on X and reading that affidavit, I realized even the ANC has been misleading the country. Them saying they have no influence whatsoever in what the Minister of Finance, their own employee,
I mean, really,
for that matter, that they don't have any influence on what he does. It's because for the past 30 years, they have never had somebody that they had to consult with. They just use their own majority ruling, defending even as much as a fireproof because of majority. So I would like to think Malema is in the right direction by saying the minister must go, but I prefer the ANC to go because it's time we change.
Yeah, Maureen in Kempton Park, thank you for your thoughts. I mean, if you want the ANC to go, it's not going to go now because they are in the government of national unity. So maybe your hope is in the next elections, perhaps, if really that's your view, that you want the ANC to go. But right now, they're a 40% party. They're still the biggest party in this country. So it's going to be difficult to form a government without them. Because, of course, the ANC, the DA is never going to sit down with the EFF and the MK party and bring in all the other smaller parties. It's not going to happen. So they're here to stay. Question is the finance minister here to stay? As I said, I think he has handled this in the most despicable of ways. He's misled parties. He's failed to have a backbone. And this is not about hating the finance minister or anything. I just think he's not done what a finance minister is expected to do. He has been pushed under pressure. He's fallen under the pressure of politics, even when he doesn't have solutions. Do you understand how crazy that is? In fact, I would support a finance minister who says, I am sticking with this decision, because if I don't do this, there's going to be more consequences, and this is a hill I'm willing to die on. I would rather a finance minister who sticks to that, because that's why now the question we have to ask now is, where's the money going to come for all those doctors? All those doctors you wanted to be hired, those teachers in KZN. Where is the money going to come from for the nurses to be hired? 75 billion rand shortfall. Austerity has been the nature of business, has been the name of the game for a while now. And you think things are going to get better with the scrapping of this VAT? It's about to get worse. More WhatsApps.
Hey, morning, Clement. Open for Clement, I do support the EFF. Enoch Godongwana must go. You know, this thing that, as we are saying, he doesn't want to own up that he made a mistake. South Africa, we have this thing that we tolerate a lot. By the way, I'm a Kaizer Chiefs supporter. Our coach Nabi must also go, Clement. We can't tolerate such. We have developed this heart in South Africa. We keep on tolerating. Nabi must go. Enoch Godongwana must go. Maybe South Africa will be a better place. Thank you, Clement.
Yeah, Clement. Enoch Godongwana is not used to coalition. Actually, let me put like the ANC, they are not used to coalitions. The first time they have to deal with coalitions. So they thought that it's still business as usual, whereby you just come on the budget day, then the ANC puppets will say, aye, we agree, because they don't care what is going to happen with consumer, because it doesn't affect them. They know that they want to pocket for themselves and their cronies. They're not used to this thing of coalition. They don't know that maybe they were supposed to consult first before the day of the budget day. By the way, Clement, look at the economy first. Nobody's monitoring the economic growth. They're just numbers, but there's no one who's enforcing the economic growth. The ANC knows nothing about economics. I think the guys needs to go back and be taught about economics. What a shame, South Africans, to be governed by such a failure. Sharp.
Clem, this is Taru from Diploof. Let me tell you, if I make a mistake and you tell me that Taru, you have made a mistake, I'll take 3 steps backwards and rectify my mistakes. But Godongwana and them, they don't do that. They don't do that. They've got an attitude here, Bartloela Hampi. You know, Bartloela Hampi. Yeah. So they think they own us. They think we owe them something. No, we don't owe them something. They must fix their mistakes. Then the country will run smoothly. Yeah. Taru, Diploof. Thank you.
Good morning, Clement. It's December here in Nelspruit. I think the Minister of Finance must go. Not so much about the mishandling, but for the arrogance. Where in the world you will find a minister who will just say, I woke up one day and I was tired of being blamed, so I decided that this time I'm going to increase taxes. I woke up in the morning and called the DG and said, DG, put 2% VAT there. What's that? This man has brought the whole country into disrepute. Thank you.
Morning, Clem, Tato. I laughed when you said, hopefully in these 100 days, Trump has tested the waters. Firstly, this is probably the longest 100 days of any office bearer on the planet. On the planet, Clem. Secondly, you're right, he has tested the waters, and he's realized that the waters are nice and deep, they're dark, they're full of sharks, and they're full of big creatures, incredible creatures, the biggest creatures you ever seen, including the Kraken. That is why I get a Kraken, because I get things done. The biggest monsters you'll ever see, that's why I'm pushing you in. He knows the depth of the waters, Clem. Or he's so naive, that's why we're here. It's one of the two.
Yeah. Which of it? Oh, yeah. If he does know the depth of the waters, then I'm extra scared, because how far is he going to go? I hope he's naive, because there is at least some hope there that he will wake up to the reality one day. Jay says, Clement, good morning. Enoch Godongwana must resign. He has failed the nation and he is very arrogant. So maybe you're wondering yourself why everybody is talking about the arrogance of the Minister of Finance. A lot of them are referring to a clip that is being sent to me. Now I'm being tagged on it on Twitter by some of our listeners who, clearly want me to play it. So what I'll do is I'll play it for you because I think a lot of them are referencing what he said during that meeting. Where was he speaking? I don't remember where he was speaking in that clip, but it's something that happened on, there's a date actually, I think the 16th of March, when he was making some comments. I'll play that clip for you. Another one says, Clement, he should resign or be dismissed. It's total arrogance. He just tried to push his budget through and did minimal work to think of other ways and take on other ideas at a huge cost to his country. And what little reputation we have left. Please, can he do the right thing and get rid of the incompetent government officials and politicians? No more cover-ups from the comrades. Well, it's not going to happen, guys. Also, to be fair on the finance minister, he was put under pressure. He was really put under pressure by his own party. Imagine you telling your own party, guys, there is no money. The only option we have is to increase VAT. Otherwise, I'm going to have to take away some of your houses. Then we have to cut, some of the benefits you have in the ministerial handbook. Of course, they don't want that. And they say, no, just make something. You say, no, there's no money. And then your party says, okay, fine, there is no money, we get you. And then they allow you to go present a budget in parliament. And then when the political parties then don't agree with them, they come back to you and say, hey, do whatever you will do. Don't give us excuses here. Just scrap that thing. And you're like, no, I can't. And they're like, okay, we understand. And then they go around lying to other parties. Yeah, don't worry, guys, we'll change this thing. And then the minister goes in court and says, I'm not changing this thing. It's never been the intention to change it. Until he realizes he's going to lose this case. And then he does an about turn with no regard to the businesses that are losing money because they've lost a lot of money in making these changes. Here's what the finance minister said on the 16th of March, which is leading some of our listeners to describing him as arrogant.
I plead guilty. I woke up one day and said, no. Everybody has been attacking me about austerity. I said, I'm sick and tired of being attacked for austerity. This time I'm going to raise tax. Then I called Duncan and the team. I said, put 2% VAT. Are you sure, Minister? I said, yes. And then on the weekend, Duncan phoned me and said, Minister, are you sure? Are you not going to change? Because if you change, we'll have to change.
That's a minister of finance. He's not even ashamed of telling you that there are people who said to him, are you sure? I just woke up and I decided I'm tired of this. I'm going to implement that. Oh, and someone just reminded me, he was out of the country at the most critical time. How do you have a minister of finance out of the country in the midst of such a critical time? That's a fiscal framework crisis. It was a political crisis. He's there in Washington, D.C., holding G20 meetings. Yes, they're important, but when you have a crisis like that, my goodness, send your the deputy finance minister there. You've got 2 deputy finance ministers. Send a DG. Do whatever you can. And the president still approved and said, my brother, my comrade, go overseas. We are led, I'm telling you. We're really in trouble, guys. Pray for this country. It's 10 o'clock.
This is EWN.
Good morning, I'm Sfiso Zulu. The Transport Department is expected to release the all-important 2025 Easter weekend road safety report this morning. Minister Barbara Creasy and her deputy Mkhuleko Hlengwa will brief the media in Pretoria, where they'll outline the impact of holiday road safety campaigns and deliver the latest statistics on crashes and fatalities. Last year, South Africa recorded a sharp increase in Easter weekend road deaths, where 225 lives were lost in 185 crashes, making a nearly 40% increase from the previous year's 161 fatalities. Mongezi Koko takes a look.
Pedestrians made up almost half of the people killed last Easter, underlining the continued struggle to make roads safer, not just for motorists, but for all who use them. Authorities responded with intensified operations. More than 30,000 traffic fines were issued and close to 2,000 drivers arrested, mostly for speeding, drunk driving and unroadworthy vehicles. Still, human error remained the biggest contributor to fatal crashes, including dangerous driving, distraction and ignoring basic road rules. Minister Creasy is expected to reflect on these patterns and unpack plans to turn the tide, possibly through round-the-clock traffic policing and stronger road safety awareness campaigns. Mongezi Koko, Eyewitness News.
Staying with the roads, 4 people have died in a crash in Mpumalanga between Balfour and Greyling-Stad. The safety department says a sedan and a bakkie collided head-on last night on the R23. Department spokesperson Moeti Musi says other occupants were injured.
The passengers in the bakkie, one passenger in the bakkie was slightly injured and he received medical treatment at the Seger Bosrand Life Care Hospital in Heidelberg. He has since been discharged from the hospital.
The Judicial Conduct Tribunal against suspended Western Cape Judge Mushtaq Parker is expected to hear closing arguments in the investigation against him today. 10 judges of the same division laid complaints against the judge following his retraction of a previous allegation and deposing of an affidavit in which he claimed former Western Cape Judge President John Hlophe assaulted him in his chambers. The second complaint against the suspended judge was lodged by the Cape Bar Council over his alleged failure to disclose a deficit of 8 million rand in the trust accounts of a law firm he was connected with during his 2017 interview for judicial appointment. Parker was suspended in 2020 following a resolution by the Judicial Service Commission, making him the first judge to be suspended in the country's constitutional democracy. Zolega Kotasha reports.
During the hearing in February, several judges delivered similar testimonies that Judge Mushtaq Parker told them he was assaulted by then Western Cape Judge President Dr. John Hlophe. So bad was the assault, said Parker, that it damaged the key that was lodged in the cupboard he was allegedly shoved into. According to testimony presented before the tribunal, Hlophe allegedly launched a physical attack on Parker, accusing him of making sexual advances towards his then-wife, who worked in the same division, Judge Kayat Sali Hlophe. However, in March 2020, 3 months later, Parker, in a letter responding to a complaint by his colleagues, seemingly retracted his initial statement. The sudden U-turn shocked the colleagues he confided in, leading to the complaint. Parker could face impeachment if found guilty of gross misconduct. Zolega Kotashe, Eyewitness News.
And a state of emergency remains in place in Spain, with power almost fully restored, while substations in Portugal are being brought back online and lights coming back on in the capital after mass blackouts. Investigations are currently underway after yesterday's massive power outages that saw widespread disruption, including in parts of France. Portugal's Prime Minister Luis Montenegro says there is no indication of a cyber attack, while Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez has warned against speculation. Gold is trading at $3,321.57 an ounce. The rand is at 18.55 to the dollar, 24.88 to the pound, 21.16 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $65.22 a barrel.
Traffic is heavily backed up on the N3 South between Linksfield Road and the Geldenhuys interchange. That's due to an accident right near Van Buren Road, as well as roadworks taking place right at the Kilulis turnoff. As a result, delays on the N12 West as well as the R24 West between the R24, and that's Edenville Road, and the Kilulis interchange.
A partly cloudy day in store for Gauteng. The temperatures will peak at highs between 24 and 25 degrees. The top story in Eyewitness News this hour. The Transport Department is expected to release the 2025 Easter Road Safety Report this morning.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
You're with Clement Manyathela
On 702.
Let's Walk the Talk, streaming on the Prime Media Plus app,
DSTV channel 856.
92.7 and 106 FM.
Six minutes after 10 o'clock. Dumelang, welcome to the second hour of the Clement Manyathela Show. Thank you for staying with us here on 702. As always, I appreciate your views, your thoughts, your reflections on the 702 open line, just weighing in on the conversation we're having. So I truly, truly appreciate you and your thoughts there. I think we learn a lot from each other's views about different issues, right? And that's what I always appreciate, that we share our views in a respectful manner. We can disagree with each other, but that helps other people who may not have formulated their own viewpoints. It helps them to see other perspectives. It helps me too to see other perspectives, and I hope it's the case with you as well when you listen to the 702 open line. Remember, at 11 o'clock, we're going to do our World of Work feature. And today we're going to be discussing how to negotiate a raise. Like, what should you be doing or preparing for before asking for a salary increase? So that's at 11 o'clock. Then at 11:30, we're going to do a health and wellness feature. Today we're going to be understanding hormonal imbalances. How do you deal with them? Because we do get affected so much in different ways as a result of hormonal imbalances. So that's going to be our chat at 11:30 today on our health and wellness feature.
Your voice,
your questions,
your morning radio with Clement Manyathela.
This is 702.
All right, so now we start our conversation with the mayor of Ekurhuleni, Nkosindiphile Xhakaza. We are going to be checking in with several mayors, in fact, over the coming weeks. We've done this before, where we bring in mayors in studio so that you can raise issues and concerns you have in your metros, but they can also update you on their service delivery programs, and maybe also update you on how stable their coalitions are. So we're going to start today with the mayor of Ekurhuleni, who's joining us in studio. And as I said to you earlier, please get your questions ready. You can call us on 011-883-0702. Alternatively, you can send your WhatsApps on 072-702-1702. Mayor, thank you so much for making time. Welcome to 702.
No, thank you very much, Clement, for the opportunity. I thought I'll get some time off, from work, seeing that there's a bit of some days this week.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was called, and I thought it's important that we come to 702 in particular, and spend part time with you. But I want to greet, your listeners at home. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's start just with from your own assessment first, because you've been, how long has it been now?
It's been now 12 months.
This is 12 months.
I was elected on the 11th of April. And then on the 14th, I did put together the mayoral committee. And I think around this time, on the 30th of April, I had my first State of the City's address.
Yeah.
So it's been, exactly 12 months. Yeah.
So there are a number of priority service delivery issues that you identified during that first State of the City's address. And I just want you to give us an update before we even go to the calls and questions on what have you been able to do? Because there's a lot that really wasn't working in Ekurhuleni that you wanted to focus on. What have you been able to do so far? Just give us that progress report, but also help us understand how stable that coalition that you are working with is 12 months later.
Yeah, no, I must say that maybe let me start on the coalition because that is important. I was elected unopposed, with the coalition that is backed by the EFF and 7 other minority parties. But I think other parties, they elected not to contest. Could be because they saw the numbers were, but in a political space, people contest because they're also making a political statement, even if the numbers are not on their side. But the significant is that I was not contested. And on the engagement that we're having, it was because of some of the difficult experiences, the 2.5 years, since 2021, before I took over, in terms of, some of the instabilities and the impact on the service delivery. You would know that there would have been a DA-led coalition that lasted for almost 15 months. Around that, and then there would have been a AIC minority-led coalition that lasted for 12 months, and some of the things that we, projects, they were clearing, they were, stuck. There was no longer, movement, human settlements project, the reservoirs, some of the electrical projects that were actually stuck. And the conversation was that let's try and stabilize, the city. And I think we then announced a 6, key pillar as a program of action because we had to, demonstrate to council that there is a program, and that program is what we would like to be measured on. So the coalition thus far has been functional. Of course, under certain difficulties because it's a new phenomenon, if I were to use that word, but we had to use our experience because in the city of Ekurhuleni since 2016 we were in some form of a coalition, the ANC led, but it was backed by AIC. We needed about 4 votes. But we knew, some of the things that assisted us because I was part of that leadership. And Mzwandile Masina, I was looking after finance and economic development. So we had to really look at that and say what works. One is that there must be a common program. There's different manifestos. We go to elections, we present our manifesto position, but we have to put together a common program that is commonly agreed. There has to be certain values that are agreed to, issues of accountability, issues of integrity. Those are basics. But one of the areas that we have not, firmly put into the table is what type of performance management system do we utilize in a political environment. We designed scorecards, but we needed to lobby the partners to actually agree to it. And I'm sure it's one of the areas that we should be able to take forward because our communities, they want to know what is the measure that you use, what type of yardstick that you use to measure performance. Do we translate the performance targets of departments, of HODs into political leadership so that we don't lose an eye on the ball? And I'm sure that's one area that we will be having conversations about.
Are you satisfied though right now with the performance of your executive?
Well, look, we've announced the 6 key pillar program of action. Number 1 is that we want to deliver safe, season, a sustainable and in a quality manner. There's certain standards. If you just go to the call center, from one quarter to the other, that we actually, use, sorry, to measure, performance. We want to build a strong financial base to support the city's development. We want to conduct repairs and maintenance to all the public, facilities, and that talks to the core of services. There are areas where we need a greater improvement, just on how quick do you respond. If there's an outage, electrical outage, if there's a water outage affecting the communities in Bedfordview, if it's escalated to leadership, do we see members of the mayoral committee on the ground actually supporting communities? Those are some of the things that we really need to improve on.
So you're not entirely satisfied with your executive?
We've produced a report, a governance report that we have now shared with our provincial leadership, where we're indicating areas that requires improvement. I mean, it's 12 months. You'd agree with me that a review on performance, any organization that is serious about its success, it does that. And you do so not to reshuffle anybody or to remove anybody. You do so that there's a collective, agreement that this is where we are, and we actually need to improve. So those are some of the dynamics really of the coalition. And we're hoping that some of the conversations that are happening in higher structures at the level of the province and so forth will actually be responsive to some of the report that we've put forward.
Let's look at your top two priority areas. You spoke about repairs and maintenance of infrastructure. Maybe that and what else have you been able to do? Because you announced that when you during your State of the City address, what progress have you made on at least 2 or 3 top priority areas before we go to the calls?
Well, we are happy that we've been able to put up a system that tracks, the service delivery, what we call a war room. And it is just to ensure that the issues that are raised by communities, we don't leave them to the depots, depot managers on the ground. We actually elevate them and we look at them, weekly. And that actually works because if you report, a sewer blockage today, communities, they are happy that the mayor actually has got a system to look at that sewer blockage, look at the timelines. Importantly, is that there's a sewer blockage that needs to be reported, but also what are the service standards? What time does it take you to turn around at the tide? And I'm happy because, from one quarter to the other, there've been significant improvements, including just confidence on that system. Call center as a platform, there's drop calls, there's all those other experiences. It's also costly for an old lady in Solopili, in Winnie Mandela, who doesn't have a data and so forth, who must call, hold on and so forth, to actually have that system working for that community as well, to ensure that the walk-in centers, those issues that are experienced or service delivery breakdown that are experienced by communities are actually recorded, they are elevated to the mayor's table. And I think that goes a long way. And also we've restored the izimbizos and community meetings, because it's important that we go to communities, we engage with them, because if we do not do that, you are not able to have a 360 type of assurance that which has been reported, that has before you is actually been resolved. So I think that is one area that I want to highlight. And we can actually see, if you go to the areas of energy, areas of water, you actually see the improvement of the utilization of the platform. And we can actually see the improvement in terms of, the service delivery deliverables. One of the areas that we're focusing on now is the finances of the city to actually turn them around. Because one of the areas that we have actually picked up, you might have, heard of the 2 billion
that's unaccounted for.
rand shortfall because of the systems that were deployed. And those systems were deployed in a year before, my leadership. We've been able to detect and actually prefer consequence management. And you'll agree with me, in a long time, it has not happened in the municipalities where we prefer consequences. It's a highly regulated area, in particular on senior managers, because as a mayor, you sit, you then prefer, you must still go to council and get council to agree. And you'll agree with me, in a council of coalition where you do not have, so you have to tread carefully to actually get council to actually support that decision. And I think we have begun now to turn around the tide. From quarter one, the 2 billion, we've taken it down to about 587 in quarter two. In the third quarter, that's about 416 million rands. So you'll agree with me that there's been a huge intervention in that area. And that is going to go a long way to turn around, the speed within which we attend to services.
Can you help our listeners understand this 2 billion rand shortfall you're speaking about? How did that come about? Are we talking here about households or businesses that had their electricity meters tampered with?
We're talking a system that has been designed, deployed to the environment, largely for business, large power users. Those are businesses. And what we're investigating now is, the extent of, because there's clearing tampering. There's other areas that are, what we call it, inefficient, or no meter, reading. Maybe let me just simplify it. You deploy a system. The system is supposed to read remotely, meters. If you consume here at 702, somewhere in the city of Johannesburg in the offices, they're actually monitoring your consumption, and they read that consumption monthly. So if the system is not picking up that what we are consuming, that's one area of a lapse, of a leak. The second area of a leak is where you've actually picked up, you've read the meter, but you've actually not billed it, for whatever reasons in the, what do you call it, effectiveness in the entire value chain of the system performance. So that is where our major issue is. There's been tampering. There's been a deletion of certain accounts. The entire account, 702 account, gets deleted. Clearing is beyond mismanagement.
Sounds like corruption.
We've preferred mismanagement on the charges, but we've commissioned a forensic investigation to actually look deeper into the matter.
What about the city officials who allowed this to happen? Has action been taken against them?
We've now suspended the head of ICT. We've preferred precautionary suspension because the regulation says prefer you have got 30 days or you've got the first 7 days to actually ask the critical question. Sorry, why must we not suspend you? The official must respond. Then we have another 30 days to actually commission a preliminary investigation so that you then go to council and say there is now prima facie evidence and all that. But we have impressed upon HR to look into other, officials who are not necessarily accountable to council and ensure that there's consequences. So we think that's a major issue, because if that issue was lying there undetected and nothing done, and nothing done about it, it's got a serious impact on the sustainability of us giving safes. Whether it's a pothole, to close a pothole, you need resources. To cut the grass, you need resources. If we're paying to ESCOM 2 billion, but we're not recovering that 2 billion, it's got a huge impact on our ability to continue to discharge.
All right, I'm going to ask you to put on the headphones, Mayor. We're going to go to the calls now. 011-883-0702. We're hosting the Mayor of Ekurhuleni, Nkosindiphile Xhakaza, this morning. What questions do you have? What concerns do you have? Do you live in and around the city of Ekurhuleni? What have you picked up that's working? What have you picked up that's not working? Let's start with you, Roy. You are calling us from Norton Park. Good morning.
Morning, Clement, and morning to the Mayor.
Sure, go ahead.
Yes, Clement, I've got 3 issues, man. One you've spoken about it. The first one, let me maybe start up by congratulating the Mayor. Before he came, there was a lot of illegal dumping, and our dustbins were not picked up on every day that you are scheduled to. And that has improved, at least since he took over. But my 3 questions is, one, when he took over, he has counted that DA came in and the other party that led. So there were a lot of things that were reversed. What means are they doing to actually, like, indigents, your old people that they actually used to get indigent and other things? That's one. The second one, he has just spoken about the system, the billing and other stuff. There's one big problem in the city. When you go to the system, and revenue collection is a problem for all municipalities, but in Ekurhuleni they've got something called Siyakhokha. And in that system, it's not meshed, it's not linked to the CCC where we pay our accounts. If you go to Siyakhokha today, it gives you something different. If you go to the CCC, it's giving you something different. What is the Mayor saying about that? Thirdly, the Premier of the province has just spoken about something on Saturday about putting cameras all over in Gauteng, even in Ekurhuleni. How are they going to then try and accommodate and link up with what the Premier is putting in terms of the surveillance cameras? So that, because crime is rife all over this the city of Ekurhuleni.
All right, Roy, I got you. Roy in Norton Park. Mayor, let's deal with that, and then we'll quickly go to the next question.
No, thank you very much, Roy. And I think let's appreciate the positive reviews in terms of the waste collection. And indeed, at some point, just around collection, door to door, they were not working. And you'll agree with me, if communities are taking out their bins according to their schedule, that on Tuesday my bin is going to be collected, and if it's not collected and there is no means to actually catch up, it becomes a problem. But we know, for the longest time now, there's not been days except where there is issues of weather. We've built capacity, we've bought new trucks and all that to ensure that we're responsive. One of the areas that we need to perfect is landfill sites. We don't have enough land to actually dispose waste. It remains a risk because you have to take waste from Tembisa and go as far as Springs to dispose that waste. It's actually not economical because the truck spends a lot of time on the road instead of focusing on the actual collection. The issue of social packages to indigent. Ekurhuleni, 80% of Ekurhuleni is made out of townships, and in the main, those are historically disadvantaged areas, and the packages for indigents that were actually taken away, created a lot of problems. Tembisa banned. There was because of some of these social packages, we've been able to turn around and actually build, some of the responsive programs. The debt rehabilitation, it's been very robust. It's quiet now because Tembisa is one of the townships that is actually paying, and across, including our suburbia, we've increased the threshold in terms of what we deem as an indigent. It's not just the property values that are in the township, where we've moved, to from 150 to about 500,000, 500,000. And you'll agree with me, majority of our communities are able to come through in that bracket, including in suburbs. We've taken it up to about 1.5, which now enables many of our households in the communities of Nokem Park, of Beachley, to actually benefit. Other areas that we're still looking at is the human settlements projects. We've got over 9 human settlements mega projects that came to a standstill since 2021. We're focusing on those. We've added capacity in the department. Now of human settlements, we've just employed the HOD, who is knowledgeable, who should be able to resolve, some of the teething problems sitting at, between national and province. Now, the issue of the Siyakhokha and some of the misalignment, it's a system issue. These are some of the things that we're looking at. Some of the lapse that has happened in the department, within the ICT department, and we're looking at those to ensure that our communities, they've got the right information, credible information. When they go to pay, what they have on the system is actually what is reflecting on their accounts. The issue of the safe city. We're supporting the safe city. If budget permits, we should be able to aggressively, also participate, because it's not just crime. There's huge vandalism of our infrastructure, from the theft of our electrical cables, which causes huge inconvenience. If you look at our street lights, there's huge tampering from vagrants, who are tampering, to what we view as syndicates, who are actually tampering with our electrical infrastructure, our substations, the traffic lights, our robots and all that. So we believe that with the deployment of cameras backed by a responsive team, because you also need to invest in the human component, so that as you pick up, as the signal are indicating tampering, you actually are able to respond on time and make the necessary arrest.
Okay, we'll stop it there for now, Mayor, but there are a number of people that are raising questions around the issue of crime, so I'll give you an opportunity to expand more on that. It's 10:33. Let's get the latest in Eyewitness News headlines. When we come back, more of your calls and WhatsApps. Dineo Pasika, I'm going to start with you guys after the headlines. Sviso, hi.
Thanks, Clement. Good morning. President Cyril Ramaphosa's Phala scandal is far from over, with Action SA now filing an application to obtain police watchdog IPID's report on the matter. The findings of IPID's probe on the theft of foreign currency at Ramaphosa's Limpopo farm has been classified as top secret. Police Minister Senzo Mchunu previously told Parliament that the report would not be made public unless formally declassified. The Transport Department is expected to release the 2025 Easter weekend road safety report this morning. Minister Barbara Creasy and her deputy Mkhuleko Hlengwa will brief the media in Pretoria, where they'll outline the impact of holiday road safety campaigns and deliver the latest statistics on crashes and fatalities. And several former Hong Kong opposition lawmakers arrested in the city's largest national security case have been released after over 4 years in prison. They are the first among dozens convicted last year to regain their freedom. They were part of a group of 47 public figures charged with subversion in 2021 for holding an informal primary election. And those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 11 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Well, we still have got that major accident scene on the N3 South. It happened right near the Van Buren Road exit. As a result, heavy traffic volumes coming out of Modderfontein Road. Please be on the lookout there and try to avoid. If you are traveling on the N12 as well as the R24 West, unfortunately more delays for you. About a 20-minute hold up between Barbara Road and the Gidulis interchange. That also goes for you along the R24 West. If you are traveling on the M1 North, bumper to bumper traffic between the Crown interchange and Carr Street. There's also queuing traffic around several roads in the Mayfair area, Main Reef Road, Park Drive, as well as Albertina Sisulu Road towards the M1 bridge. If you're traveling in the city of Tshwane at this moment, delays on the N1 South approaching the Braakfontein interchange. Delays as you come out of John Forster Drive. And then there's roadworks that are taking place in Centurion along the N14 South right near the Braakfontein interchange. Please be on the lookout there and approach with care. I'll have more updates for you at the top of the hour.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
The Midday Report.
Weekdays
12 to 1.
On the Midday Report, every day from 12 to 1 p.m, we will bring you breaking news from the scene as it unfolds with newsmakers, reporters, commentators, experts and analysts. We'll explain the stories of the day, give you context for why they are important and what they mean for you. It is everything you need to know in 1 hour, from news to global events, business, sports, science, books and always some good news too. Appointment listening every day at 12 with the Midday Report.
The Midday Report
with Mandy Wiener.
12 to 1 on 702.
702.
You wouldn't want to pay more than you need to for electricity, so why overpay for car insurance? Switch to Outsurance and you could save big every month. Zandile, a 36-year-old woman, is a real Outsurance client who saves a mind-blowing 918 Rand a month on her 2024 Cherry Tiggo 1.5 litre. Isn't it time you got the real deal? Don't pay more. Switch and save today. SMS out to 45142. That's out to 45142. With Outsurance, you always get something out. A licensed insured FSP. T's and C's online.
In just 10 years, over 850 million winners have shared more than 31 billion Rand with the National Lottery. That's not a dream, that's real money, won by real people, right here in Mzansi. So the question is, why not you? The next winner could come from your hometown. Buy your tickets now in store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or simply dial *120 *7529# for USSD. Handa, Pusha, play. Players must be 18 years old or play responsibly. E2 is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
This isn't just a walk, it's a journey through memory, through meaning. The 702 Walk the Talk hosted by Freedom Park in the city of Tshwane returns on Sunday the 27th of July. Walk from the hallowed grounds of Freedom Park to the southern lawns of the Union Buildings and some of our capital city's most iconic landmarks. Choose from the 8-kilometer, the 6-kilometer in honor of Mandela Month, or the 4-kilometer for something lighter. Entry is 360 Rand for adults and 200 Rand for kids under 12. There's no parking at the start or end, so please book your park and ride from Joburg or Pretoria when you enter. Sign up on primemediaplus.com before the 26th of July. 702 Walk the Talk, hosted by Freedom Park in the city of Tshwane. Walk with meaning. Walk with us.
When using the road, please note that these are some of South Africa's high-risk roads. R573 Moloto Road in Gauteng, Mpumalanga and Limpopo. R71 Mankweng in Limpopo. N2 Duchwa in Eastern Cape. N2 Mount Aleph in Eastern Cape. N2 Libote in Eastern Cape. N1 Naboomspruit in Limpopo. This message is brought to you by the National Department of Transport.
You're with Clement Manyathela.
702.
22 minutes before 11 o'clock, we're in conversation this hour with the Mayor of Ekurhuleni Nkosindiphile Xhakaza, and we are taking your calls on 011-883-0702. You can send WhatsApps as well on 072-702-1702. Let's go straight to those calls and start with you, Basika, who's calling us from False Loras. Basika, hi.
And to the mayor.
Hey, Sada.
I've got a number of issues and questions that I will put forward to.
All right. Can you give me two, Basika? Quickly, two, yeah? Because I've got a lot of calls I want to take, yeah? Just two quickly.
Okay. The most important one is that for Soros Extension 2, we haven't had water from around the 20th of March. Communication has been dismal from the municipality in that communication has only been through social media. And when you complain on those social media pages, which is Twitter, you get blocked. I have in the past through CD's handle raised the questions. The mayor has done nothing. On top of that, Bedfordville had the same issue. The mayor was there. The mayor gave it attention. We, on the other hand, haven't been given attention. And this creates an impression that we are second-class citizens
people that live in affluent areas are first-class citizens. And because of the fact that maybe they threaten them that they're going to take this to the courts, that's the reason why they give
What's
them
your area again, Paseka?
Oslo,
and then you haven't had water since there.
Yeah, we have water trucks. The trucks do what they have to do, but being without water for such a long time.
What's the
if
date?
I put him, Vegas.
What's the date? When was the last time you had water?
If my memory is correct, around about the 20th of March.
20th of March. Okay, let me get the mayor to respond to that. What was your second issue again?
Second issue is grass.
Okay.
Open space areas. They are not being maintained. When I say maintained, I mean that they cannot cut them. They are not being cut. It's difficult to drive. From a safety risk, it just creates a whole lot of nightmare for a whole lot of people, taking into account that metropolis visibility is something else in the location. It doesn't exist. It only exists when they want the Jojo. That's it.
Okay. Paseka in False-Loras, thank you so much for your questions, Mayor.
No, thank you very much. I think maybe let's correct the I would say it's a myth because we are servicing all our communities across Ekurhuleni, not just in Bedfordview. The Izimbizos, they've been consistent throughout, but we also have what we call mayoral outreach programs. Every Fridays, we go to different areas, and we've been to False-Loras 2 times already, where we've attended to a number of issues. The Human Settlements Project, just as you enter False-Loras, we've been there to unlock and fast-track it. We've dealt with issues of potholes. We've visited some of the clinics. We've been to Villa Lisa, including the issue of the water challenges. The reservoir, the newly built reservoir, has actually been leaking, and we are busy fixing up that leak. There has been a communication in this regard. The target date was the 30th of March initially, but the technicians, because you have to seal one area, but I think there's other challenges, so it has since been reviewed until end of June. So we must just strengthen communication to that community. And we have deployed members of the mayoral committee. The MMC of Roads and Transport has been deployed to service the area of False-Loras to ensure that there is a regular interface with communities, that what councillors they do hold their community meetings so that they update communities about what is happening. But we will then strengthen that communication to ensure that there is a progress update in relation to that water. But what we are comforted is that there is an intervention. The regular trucks are actually available to ensure that there is no cut-off of water to that community. Yeah.
Okay.
And then the other issue is the cuts. What do you call it? Grass cutting. We have experienced a lot of rains. I think it went beyond. We normally budget that until about end of February, you start to see a bit of a what do you call it, a stop off in terms of rains. But this time around, this year, it has gone beyond. Clement, you will agree with me, even this weekend, it was raining. So what it means is that we must then tighten up some of our budget instead of cutting certain areas, once per month. We must then budget for more, to actually have twice intervals, in a month. But we must agree that there's also been some delays in terms of building a capacity, onboarding some of the service providers to actually assist us to cut certain areas. So we must fast track that process. But one of the things that we've emphasized going forward is that we must now build internal capacity in this area so that we don't have a reliance on the service providers. I mean, because if you're on board people, you employ more people, you need, it's a less technical in terms of skill requirement area. You need bush cutters, you need those machinery and PPE to actually get that services done by us internally. Yeah.
All right, let's hit some more questions. Please be quick with your questions. I'll ask the mayor to also try be quick with the responses because I'm trying to get through to as many questions as we can. Tubatse, you're calling us from Germiston. What's your question? Good morning. Hi, Tubatse.
Morning. How are you?
Sure, man. Go ahead.
I'm good, thanks. Mayor, I just want to mention the issues of Germiston South regarding electricity. I don't know if you're aware, but the residents of Leondale, Ruodekop, suffer weekly with energy outages. We've had engagement with your MMC Ngwenya, who has committed to help us, but today we're still suffering. I'm telling you that last week we said 6 days without electricity, and today we woke up again without electricity. The issues have been continued since 2017. There seems to be no commitment from this municipality to help us. And I would like for you to please address that. And they tell us the issues sit at Second Input Wadeville Station. If you could please.
All right, lovely. Kutubatsa, thank you for that. Maria, you are in East Rand. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Sure. Go ahead.
So the question I have for the mayor, I have two questions, quick ones. The sinkhole that has collapsed, or there's a sinkhole on the major route on Rondeport Road that has been there since probably 3 years ago. Nothing has happened with that infrastructure for repairing. It is a major route to the airports, etc., and causes traffic issues. What is the status of that? Because we haven't had any feedback. And the second thing is, the mayor did touch on it earlier regarding the resourcing for doing maintenance on gardens, etc., and parks and recreation, cutting of the grass, etc. The last time I saw anybody from the municipality cutting grass was probably 3 years ago. Communities have taken upon themselves to actually do their maintenance that is opposite their houses, because it obviously devalues the prices of houses, etc., and even the graveyards and things like that have not been cut. So the resourcing issue that you're speaking to, Mayor, is that related to funding, or is that related to people actually not being available, because there are so many people who are homeless and jobless that can actually fill those positions at a lower wage?
Absolutely, Maria. Great point there. Thank you so much for that. Dineo and John, I'll come to you in a moment, Mayor.
Yeah, no. Starting with the issues around the electricity provision in Germiston South, Rodekop and the nearby areas, it's a major problem, Clement. And I think from time to time, that community resorts to closing the entry highway, and it's got to do with overload. It's got to do with when we talk about third-party interference, people who are overloading our system. Every house in Rodekop, they've actually extended their houses without following any municipal plan. So what it means is that people, they build backyard rooms, what we call backyard dwellers, for income purposes, known as Ama Room, allocation. So and if you don't go through a municipal plan, the municipality is not able to ensure that there's proper capacity to supply that area, and this causes a lot of trips on the transformers. It causes a lot of overload. It does not just affect that area, the areas of Pumula and all that, they actually get affected. We are tightening up our blitz. We must also strengthen our hand to actually get communities to comply in terms of bylaw enforcement. Of course, it puts up a fight, because communities, they organize, they protest, they march, they do all these sorts of things. But it must be understood that it's not just us as government. We need cooperation from those communities to ensure that they are actually compliant they don't connect illegally into the system to cause some of these overloads. The areas of Wadeville, we have now finalized the construction of the substation called the second input. We are now finalizing the cable. We must just say, in order to connect, to upgrade those cables that connect those communities, including the business communities of Wadeville. There are major investments there that we're trying to protect. Henneken, for instance, they operate 24 hours. Some of the products that they produce serve in international markets. They produce Amarula, they produce Savannah, and all that. Some of the outages that we experienced in December, it's one thing that we want to turn around, because we must protect that investment. We're protecting jobs and all that. The sinkhole in Rondebelt is a major headache. I must put it before yourself. And honestly, we do not have the money at this point in time. It needs at least 150 million rands. That's about all our roads budget for construction of new roads. And this is as a result of Zamazamas, illegal miners who are actually mining underneath Boksburg, underneath Germiston. And that causes a lot of inconvenience, because R21 connects via the airport. It actually relieves Galulis, because it connects all the way to the lower south of Vosloorus. And if that major connectivity is impacted, the manner in which it is impacted, it's a huge inconvenience for the local economy. We have shared some of this difficulty with the province to look at the issues of disaster. If some of the disaster budget and intervention can actually assist us. Okay. Otherwise, we'll have to, for a financial year, stop building a new road, channel all the money to this area. And I'm sure it's one of the things that we will have to consider, because the impact of that road in the mobility and the economic activities of around Boksburg, Germiston, is actually quite severe. The issues of it's actually resources. We've advertised recently, and HR has advertised, and we're expecting them to finalize an uptake of about more than 200 teams who are going to do grass cutting. There is an interesting development that we're studying, because as a result of the the 2-point where people can take up some of the monies and all that. There's been a number of resignations that are not explained.
Is this in the city?
In the city.
The two-port system?
In the two-port system. So we're studying, we've asked HR to study that, to look at the interviews, the exit interviews that they've done, to actually understand what could have been some of the contributions that led to some of these resignations. Okay. But we're building up those teams to actually ensure that we've got capacity to...
Okay.
Yeah,
John, you're in Davidton. Good morning.
Hello, how are you?
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, 2 questions. The other one, you tried to talk about it. It's about, I think the mayor knows the place in Davidton called Cloverdale.
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 Okay.
It's the capital city of illegal mining.
Mm-hmm.
I stay around Davidton and I work around Davidton. It's entrance that goes to Mpumalanga. They always cross there. They go to the township where people see them, but the police are not doing anything. As a former principal, I even hear students or young people saying their profession, they want to do that because they seem to be role models. They see them, making easy money, mingling with the people. But where are the policemen? And really, do you need intelligence to know that these things is happening? I heard you saying part of the thing was as a result of illegal. But what are we doing? Because there was a time when I thought the government it's on top of this problem. But now it's mushrooming again. It will need a lot of research money to deal with them. They are roaming around the street, crossing highways during daylight. I'm saying there's no police, there's nobody in government who says that this thing is mushrooming. Number two, as a former principal, I have got students who have been doing architect. I wonder whether Ekurhuleni has got plans and future for architects, young people who are architects. And we find wrong people doing jobs that require such skills, but that those with those skills. Is there a future for this profession, Mayor? What do we have? They don't even know where to go because I think you don't need them.
Yeah, no, got it. John in Davidton, Mayor.
Yeah, I think we sit with this thing of illegal mining and zamazamas. It's a huge headache for us as a city government. It's a huge headache for our communities. Certain corridors, it becomes very difficult. I mean, if you part Fontaine of Ramp, there's a lot of crime that gets committed. People are losing lives, in those areas. Our capacity in the EMPD, it's not sufficient to actually deal with these issues of zamazamas. They are heavily armed because you agree with me, EMPD, part of the scope is to deal with traffic violation, is to deal with bio-law enforcement. We've got a component that deals with crime, but those are not big teams that can actually look at the issues of zamazamas. We know that there's SAPS that is working. There's deployment of the army in certain sections. We'll have to also just look at that topic, Clement, alone, to actually have a conversation. We'll have to pull up some of the reports to get a proper briefing on what is actually happening there. But it causes huge inconvenience. Cloverdene, N12, some of the informal settlements that are there. So it remains a headache. We are focused on skills development and skills and capability development, and this is part of the overall growth and development strategy of the city. When we talk about economic development, we also have to ensure that we look at the skills profiling of our communities and ensure that we do our part. So we do that, from mobilizing for bursaries, which is, an area that we've been doing so well since 2016. But when budget permits, we want to put money there. We've hosted the golf to fundraise with the businesses. We are looking at the various interventions in terms of internships and learnerships. The presidential employment stimulus, we're placing a number of young people inside our departments, but we're also calling for the private sector to place a number of young people. So there's various interventions and partnership together with the Ekurhuleni Skills College, where we're actually taking up young people who want to do artisans and all that. The call for university still remains. So there's a comprehensive strategy that we're responding in terms of skilling, believing that we are a city in Gauteng and there's a great expectation to contribute in our economy and yeah.
All right, Mayor, let me thank you for coming through to account to your boss, the people in Ekurhuleni. We'll have you back hopefully in about 4 or 5 months just to get an update on how those service delivery issues you're still focusing on are going. Thank you so much for making time for us.
We're appreciating the opportunity, Clement.
Yeah, that's the mayor of Ekurhuleni. It's a minute now before 11 o'clock.
Managing your workforce shouldn't be complicated. That's why businesses choose Onacy, a proudly South African cloud-based payroll and HR solution. From payroll and e-recruitment to performance management and self-service tools, we streamline the way businesses handle their people. Scalable, secure, and always online, our system evolves with your needs because your workforce deserves the best. Switch to Onacy and experience payroll and HR done right. Visit onacy.com today.
Corporates That Care promotes and encourages corporate leaders and all citizens to walk the talk for a better South Africa. Catch Corporates That Care this Wednesday at 10 to 9 featuring FNB. Their CEO, Harry Kellen, will be in conversation with Bongani Bingwa. Join us every Wednesday as we highlight the efforts of companies and brands dedicated to building our country. Corporates That Care is a Prime Media Cares initiative with 702 and Prime Media Outdoors. 702, let's walk the talk and make a difference.
Hi, I'm Dion Free. Winning requires audacity. That's why I joined African Bank and opened a 60-month fixed-term investment account. I'm scoring 12.8% interest at expiry on my investment. How cool is that? You too can join the bank that backs you to grow your money. Pop into a branch near you or visit africanbank.co.za. African Bank, audacity to believe. African Bank is a licensed financial services and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
Mitsumania is here, and it's bigger than ever. For a limited time only, experience unbeatable deals on the Mitsubishi Outlander, Eclipse Cross, and Triton. For a limited time, you can get up to 90,000 Rand on deal assistance. Adventure, performance, style, whatever you're after, we've got it at a price that'll blow you away. But hurry, these deals won't last. Visit your nearest Mitsubishi dealership now, before time runs out. Mitsubishi Motors, drive your ambition.
All right, time for Eyewitness News, and this Eyewitness News is brought to you by Momentum. Advice is not a one-size-fits-all. Speak to a Momentum accredited financial advisor today. Advice meets your context. Momentum is part of Momentum Group Limited, an authorized financial services and registered credit provider.
This is EWN.
Good morning, I'm Sfiso Zulu. President Cyril Ramaphosa's Phala scandal is far from over, with Action SA now filing an application to obtain police watchdog IPID's report on the matter. The findings of IPID's probe on the theft of foreign currency at Ramaphosa's Limpopo farm has been classified as top secret. Police Minister Senzo Mchunu previously told Parliament that the report would not be made public unless formally declassified. IPID was roped in to investigate the conduct of Ramaphosa's VIP protection officers who allegedly travelled to Namibia to track down the alleged perpetrators and recover the stolen money. Police Minister Senzo Mchunu has said to Parliament that the report will not be made public. Alfara Mushwana reports.
Action SA believes invoking the Promotion of Access to Information Act could enable IPID's disclosure of the guarded report on the Phala scandal. The party's Michael Beaumont says there is no legal and constitutional basis to justify classifying the report as top secret.
Section 3.4.4 of the Minimum Information Security Standards Cabinet Policy is explicit that top secret classifications can only be applied to reports when they result in issues like declaration of war or the discontinuation of diplomatic relations between states.
While Mchunu previously used this policy to justify the classification, Beaumont says it seems government is misinterpreting legislation. He says filing the application to obtain IPID's Phala report is an attempt to ensure transparency in the handling of the president's scandal. Alpha Ramshwana, Eyewitness News.
The Transport Department is expected to release the 2025 Easter weekend road safety report this morning. Minister Baba Creasy and her deputy Mkhuleko Hlengwa are briefing media in Pretoria at this hour, where they are outlining the impact of holiday road safety campaigns and delivering the latest statistics on crashes and fatalities. Last year, South Africa recorded a sharp increase in Easter weekend road deaths, where 225 lives were lost in 184 crashes, making a nearly 40% increase from previous year's 161 fatalities. Mongezi Gogo reports.
Pedestrians made up almost half of the people killed last Easter, underlining the continued struggle to make roads safer, not just for motorists, but for all who use them. Authorities responded with intensified operations. More than 30,000 traffic fines were issued and close to 2,000 drivers arrested, mostly for speeding, drunk driving, and unroadworthy vehicles. Still, human error remained the biggest contributor to fatal crashes, including dangerous driving, distraction, and ignoring basic road rules. Minister Creasy is expected to reflect on these patterns and unpack plans to turn the tide, possibly through round-the-clock traffic policing and stronger road safety awareness campaigns. Monke Zikoko, Eyewitness News.
Meanwhile, 4 people have died in a car crash in Mpumalanga between Balfour and Gracelandstad. The safety department says a sedan and a bakkie collided head-on last night on the R23. Department spokesperson Moeti Musi says other occupants were injured.
The passengers in the bakkie, one passenger in the bakkie was slightly injured and he received medical treatment at the Seger Bosrand Life Care Hospital in Heidelberg. He has since been discharged from the hospital.
And several former Hong Kong opposition lawmakers arrested in the city's largest national security case have been released after over 4 years in prison. They are the first among dozens convicted last year to regain their freedom. They were part of a group of 47 public figures charged with subversion in 2021 for holding an informal primary election. The case fell under a national security law imposed on the city by Beijing and drew international condemnation and warnings about Hong Kong's declining freedoms and tolerance of dissent. Gold is trading at $3,321.57 an ounce. The rand is at 18.55 to the dollar, 24.88 to the pound, 21.16 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $65.22 a barrel.
And in the traffic, we've got a major accident seen in Centurion along the N1 South towards the Braakfontein interchange. Delays are as you come out of Border Avenue. Please be on the lookout there. The N1 North is also heavily backed up due to onlookers on the scene. If you are traveling on the N12 as well as the R24 West, bumper-to-bumper traffic between Barber Road and the Kilulis interchange, that's due to an accident between those 2 points. Please be on the lookout there. There's also queuing traffic on the M1 North between the Crown interchange and Car Street.
A partly cloudy day in store for Gauteng. The temperatures will peak at highs between 24 and 25 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour: President Cyril Ramaphosa's Phala Phala scandal is far from over, with Action SA now filing an application to obtain police watchdog IPID's reports on the matter.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it, they say. But my toaster isn't broken exactly. It just lands my toast on the kitchen floor. You see, some things only kinda never work. Like a financial plan based on generic advice. That's why Momentum accredited financial advisors take the time to understand you and only then apply their expertise. Advice meets your context. Momentum, your journey to success. Momentum is part of Momentum Group Limited, an authorized financial services and registered credit provider.
You're with Clement Manyathela
On 702.
Let's walk the talk. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856.
92.7 and 106 FM.
Eight minutes after 11 o'clock. Dumelang, welcome to the third and final hour of the Clement Manyathela Show. Time for our World of Work feature.
702.
World of Work.
On our World of Work feature today, we are discussing how to negotiate a raise, a salary increase. What do you need to know or even prepare for before asking for a salary increase? Because that can be one of the most daunting conversations to have with your bosses, isn't it, in a professional setting? But if you're preparing enough, if you choose the right timing, that can help you in negotiating effectively. I mean, as an employee, you have to build a strong case for your raise. You have to be clear about so many things, including your desired salary range, and approach even that discussion with confidence and professionalism, right? Understanding how to position your value can make all the difference in achieving the outcome you're seeking for. And I want you to please share how you have asked for a raise before, and did it work? Did it not work? Have you ever negotiated a raise? And what strategies actually worked for you? Or what do you wish you had done differently? Maybe you've got some strategies that worked for you, and you can give some tips to some of our listeners who are thinking about how to approach that salary increase conversation. You can share those thoughts with us or tips on 011-883-0702. You can also send us your WhatsApp voice notes on 0727021702. Boniwe Dancer is an HR specialist joining us on the line, who's going to guide us through this conversation. Boniwe, welcome back to the show. Good morning.
Good morning, Clement, and good morning to the 702 listeners.
So, asking for a raise, asking for that salary increase is can be so toxic, taxing, and it can really take a lot for you as an employee, especially when you don't know, okay, how do I actually position myself, my value for the company, how much am I asking for, what's my reference point? So let's just start with how important it is to prepare thoroughly before asking for a raise, because I think a lot of us think it's a matter of just sending an email or asking for a meeting with your boss, and you walk in there and you say, I deserve a 20% increase. But it needs preparation, doesn't it?
Yes, it does require preparation, Clement, because it actually ends up being a negotiation meeting, and it's also about a give and take to try to actually find a win-win situation. So you can't go into that conversation without having prepared. What's important firstly is for you to understand why are you requesting for the raise, and is it the right time for you to actually request for the raise? And the reason I'm saying why, probably you have had an increase of workload, or the complexity of your role has expanded, or probably you've completed a successful project, and maybe that project has saved the company money or millions, right? And in that instance, you feel that you have worked so hard to get to that point, and therefore you believe that what you have achieved requires you to be actually compensated, more than what you currently are because of your value, the skills that you have learned, and so forth, right? In certain instances, especially in your IT spaces, you might obtain a certain certification, which is quite important, and therefore that actually changes your value in the market. So that is the why that you need to understand. Now that you understand the why, it's actually to saying, how do I do my research to be able, to support the request that I'm making? And that goes as far as having to do research in terms of understanding what is my company paying for this particular role, what is the market paying for this particular role, and what is the specific industry that I am in pay for this particular role. And we know that most of the time such data is not readily available. However, there are, bodies that you can actually engage with to try to get that level of information. For example, All Mutual runs a RAM channel where they do annual benchmark on certain roles every year. The 21st Century does the same. Sometimes you can even ask recruitment agencies or your HR friends or professional bodies if you do prepare, or if you belong to a professional body. And then what that entails is that you take that data and then you analyze it, and you see to say, this is what is happening and these are the trends. So as part of your preparation, you actually then go into that meeting having prepared to understand, to say, this is where I am as an individual, this is the qualifications that I have, this is what I have done, this is what the market is paying, or my peers are being paid in line with this kind of role. And also you need to support that also with performance as well, Clement. I think that's important to highlight, because if you're a non-performer or are not delivering on your work, your conversation will not even go past an introductory, minute of your conversation, because you need to also support that with performance as well, so that the organization can also understand and consider the value that you are bringing into the organization for them to give you that adjustment. So never forget your achievements. In essence, this is what I've achieved, this is what I've done, this is what I have exceeded and went beyond and above. So that is very important, because that forms a strong basis for you to have a meaningful and a mature conversation with your line manager.
Okay, so we must document those achievements and our contributions, because they must then guide that conversation with our managers. How do we, though, Boniwe, research and maybe even determine an appropriate salary range before those negotiations? Because again, one of the mistakes we make is that we get in there and we say, yeah, I deserve a 20%, or I need 5,000 rand more of an increase. And when your manager, your boss asks, okay, how did you get to that number? Some of us can't really explain that.
Yes, and this is where the data that you would have gathered from your REM channels, the professional bodies that you belong to, or the agencies that probably, you're on their database. So this is actually where your research, comes in. So when you answer that particular question, you can go as far as, this is the research that I have done, this is the REM channel annual benchmark that was published on the Old Mutual site, and my role as a financial accountant, this is how it's paid in line with the people that are in the financial services, or it's paid in line with the industry that we're in, because sometimes there's market, and then there's also industry as well, because where your industry is also is a contributing factor. So you need to bring that into the conversation to show the person that you're engaging with or that you're asking this from to say, I have done my homework, because as soon as you stumble and are unable to actually provide an answer to that question of saying, but how much do you want and how did you get to that figure? So it is important for you to indicate how you actually then got to that figure. And then by doing that, you say, based on what the market is paying and based on where I am. So this is the gap between where I am. This is the gap between where I am and where the market is, and I would actually ideally like to be, to be placed where the market, recommends, whether it's at the 25th percentile of the band or wherever. And then you do that. But when you are also negotiating, also be careful of just, sticking to a figure. I think it's important to probably give a range to say, if all fails, this is where I want to land. But if, in an ideal situation where I was given a blank check, this is as how high I would go. So give that range so that when your employer considers your request, it is then between you and actually, those ranges, so that when they fall below, they can actually fall at your lowest request of the money, because if you actually give them a single figure, it becomes difficult. But if you give them a range, then you can play and negotiate between the ranges that you have actually then provided. But just make sure that you are also reasonable and you are asking what is in line with what would be expected if you were to get another role or a similar role in another company.
Okay. 011-883-0702. I want to hear from you as well. How have you negotiated a raise before? What strategies have actually worked for you? Give some tips to some of our listeners, please. Or maybe your strategy didn't work, but you have actually reflected and you found ways that you can do it differently. What are you now considering? Your WhatsApp's on 072 702 1702.
Hey, morning, Clems. When asking for a raise, you must know your bosses, right? Because I know personally where I used to work, whereby every single time you ask for a raise, the boss would get angry and perform just so that you become scared to come back and ask for a raise again or anything like that. So the best thing to do is get there, speak your case. When they start acting and performing like a crazy person, just take it as a sign that you will never get it and just go look for a job somewhere else and be happy. Yeah? Cook some Devland.
Yeah, all right, Kicks, thank you. Another one, Anonymous on the WhatsApp line says, good morning, Clement, to you and Boniwe. If your manager resigns and he's earning double your salary and you are promoted to take his role, can you ask to get the same salary as his? That is 100%, because that would be then 100% salary increase. Yeah, Boniwe?
Yeah, so maybe let me start with the second question first. So with the second question, in many circumstances, you would not get identical to what your manager was earning. The reason being that person would have been at that particular role for a period of time, probably 5-6 years. So they have actually then moved with the role in terms of the salary tables moving annually. And it will also depend in when they actually assumed the role. Maybe they would have assumed the role, as a fully qualified individual. So it also depends on where you are versus the role that you are going to. So in essence, if you're moving from where your boss was, the role that your boss was occupying, they would look into that particular salary band from where you are in terms of the adjustment. Many companies would actually, those that actually follow or have some remuneration principles, they would often place the new incoming candidate at the 25th percentile of that, of that salary scale. And then you find that as you move into the role and you grow into the role, then you move, eventually you'll get, at the 50th percentile of that scale. And again, the honest truth, which is also not ideal, is that when it's somebody internal, the increase sometimes tend to be, lesser. Maybe they would give you like something between 10 and 15%. But if it's an external candidate, they might actually also get higher depending on where they are coming from. Because in that instance, remember, as an employer, you are also buying a skill from the market. You're buying a ready-made skill from the market. Both internally, sometimes you promote somebody into the role whilst they still have developmental areas to meet before they become fully competent. And with certain promotions and with fair practices, you can actually then communicate that to someone to say, we are promoting you, but these are the gaps that have been identified. Therefore, we will have a 6-month review or an annual review for the next coming 2 to 3 years to get you fully competent. And at each review process, there would be certain adjustments that are made to your salary to get you to where you are supposed to be. But that only happens where processes are open and fair to people.
Okay. And then is it recommended to practice maybe some role playing of that negotiation conversation beforehand?
I think it is so, because you also want to get into that conversation with some level of confidence, right? So if you have somebody that you trust, maybe you've got an accountability partner or you've got a mentor or somebody that you trust in your family or your friends, you can actually then be open to them in terms of the process that you're about to embark on, and then ask them for input and ask them to actually play that role of a manager or HR, and then you are on the other side, so they can also poke your presentation, or they can poke your request, so that you can go back and prepare. And this even means maybe standing in front of the mirror and pretending that you're talking to someone else, because oftentimes it's a very scary process, right? And people do get anxious, so you don't also want to get into that room, bite your tongue, start sweating, and you can't even articulate yourself. So preparation is actually quite important, and having to present your case before someone else who can actually give you honest feedback for you to go rework your presentation, I believe is actually quite important. And added to that, it is also important for you to prepare to say, if the company says no, what are the next steps? Because that is a possibility, right? With all your level of preparation, it doesn't mean that it is guaranteed that they're going to say yes. But if they say no, you also need to prepare, how am I going to take the no? And that goes back to, to maturity, and resilience, to say, how do I bounce back from that no? And also making sure that when that no comes, you start negotiating other benefits, right? You might have said no on the salary, but what are the other benefits that you can actually request for? In certain instances, you can even ask for company shares. In certain instances, you can even ask, for a hybrid working model, which others might not actually have as part of your benefits. So you need to also have an option to say, what are other benefits that I can negotiate in case that I do not get the money that I am requesting for. And also keep the lines of communication open after that no. Just don't be despondent. Also ask to say, okay, is this a definite no, or is this a no that you can renegotiate after 6 months or after a year? And then you put your line manager on the spot with accountability and ask to say, if I want to come back and request for this after a year, what is it that I need to work on in terms of my professional development, in terms of my technical and personal skills? What is it that it would take for me, to actually get that increase when I come back next time to ask, so that they don't exonerate themselves from the process. And if they say it's in 6 months' time on this particular day, you go back and you actually put that conversation in the calendar so that you reschedule it, so that you don't lose sight of the conversation.
Mm-hmm. Another person on the WhatsApp line says, "Hey Clement, Boniwe, can you please get Boniwe to respond to this question? How easy is it to get these salary benchmark reports? I've been looking to get them, but I've really been struggling." That's a question there from Mongani.
Yeah, sometimes it's actually not as as easy. But Rem Channel is easy because Rem Channel, they actually do publish it. So if you can just Google on go to Google and just put in Rem Channel, you should, because that they actually publish. If you also belong to a professional body, because professional bodies, they also do their annual researches as well. Because if you belong to a professional body, it means that the membership fee that you also pay every year. Then you can go to a professional body and say, I'm requesting for this particular benchmark on this particular role because of what, and they should be able to provide. Some of them would be available, but they would be available at a fee, because those are private and independent consultants that actually embark on this work.
Okay, here's another WhatsApp voice note.
Hi, Clement. So I just wanted to share my experience. When I moved jobs the last time around, I went through a negotiation process with the employer, and obviously it didn't go as expected. And the feedback that was received at the time was that I was already above the salary scale. For some weird reason, it looks like they'd forgotten that they were actually very transparent in terms of their earnings. And within about 4 months, I got hold of the salary scale, and I decided right then and there that I was entering the job market. And behold, a month later, I had left, and I am happy to say that their position is currently still vacant. I think there are some employers from an ethical point of view just don't deserve good employers.
Yeah, absolutely. But anyway,
I think that, it's actually quite sad, when there is lack of authenticity in terms of these conversations. Yes, there are sometimes, employees that might actually be sitting, above the salary band, which makes it difficult, for those huge increases. But I think that dishonesty is actually unacceptable, because you are lying to your people, so they will never trust your process again. But oftentimes people must be able to sit within a salary band, and a decision should be made within that, salary band. And you can even, share salary bands. It's just that it's a practice that is not, common or normal, in our country or actually in the world, whereby we share salary bands. Because in other organizations, they would actually not share the entire salary band, but they will actually share with employees the salary band of the role or the level that they are, so that you can see how far you are, in terms of, of the band, am I below, am I in the midpoint, and all of that. But in instances whereby, you keep on negotiating and you keep on giving good performance and you're giving good results, and you are always met with resistance or a no to the previous WhatsApp voice note, then you are more than welcome to also then start going to the market, to validate your worth. Because sometimes we need to get to a point of saying, with the environment that I'm working in, with the culture that I see, with what has happened with some of the high talent in the organization, my chances of actually getting a proper and an equitable, adjustment might not, happen. But then again, you also find other organizations that will actually have their annual increases, but they will also have ad hoc increases, probably around about March or October, depending on when, their annual increases are. And during that process, what they do, they would send each and every department their people, their headcount file, including their salaries, and also indicating how far they are, from the salary band. I think I've worked for a company that did that diligently, whereby we were mandated to make sure that people that were paid below a certain percentile, we always bring them up, so that they do not fall outside the pay scale, because that's an unfair, labor practice, and we're also talking about equal pay for equal work. So what is it that you are doing to actually ensure that your people are remunerated competitively, in the market? I applaud that guy for leaving, but it was also unfair for the company to also lie. And it is easy for them to lie because such information is actually held, as a secret. And that being a secret for me personally, as an HR person, it also perpetuates the past injustices, where we can actually then allow, for these huge parities between, racial pay parities, gender pay parities, and so forth.
Yeah. Here's another one.
Peter Townsend, the management expert who took Avis Rent-A-Car to number 2 in the world, wrote a book called Up the Organization. And in there, his comment on salaries and salary increases was that if you don't succeed in your negotiation discussion with your boss and the team, resign. and then apply for your own position. That, in his view, gets management to sit back and have a look at the reality of the cost of replacing you. And he said if the company says their policy is they don't re-employ people who resigned, move on, find a good company. Thanks, guys. Good chat. Lawrence from the East Rand.
Thanks, Lawrence. That can be complicated. Boniwe?
That can be complicated because there are people in their companies, Clement, that are very arrogant, right?
Yeah.
They don't even know what the cost of recruitment is.
Yeah.
They don't even break it down to say, if we're recruiting for this job, how many rounds of interviews, number of panel members, what is their salary per hour, what is the training cost of actually upskilling this person, for them to acclimatize the culture and all of those things. All of that is a cost, but there are companies or individuals that are so arrogant that they don't even know the cost and they don't even care. Unless probably then you resign, but you're making sure that you actually already have something that you're going to go to, because sometimes you might do that and they might not even come back to you with with a counter offer to retain you, right? They might not even be interested, and sometimes you might resign. You find out your manager has been wanting to get rid of you. So I think it's an intricate, balancing act, for individuals when they decide to actually leave in case so that they can get a salary adjustment. But going to the market to validate your work, it's also good. But maybe then your work is actually with another company and not the company that you have been with for 15 years.
Yeah. Boniwe, always, you've been great as always. Thank you so much for guiding us through this conversation. Boniwe Dancer is an HR specialist. That takes us to 11:30. Time for the latest in Eyewitness News headlines. Mbali, hi.
Thanks, Clement. A very good morning. We begin with breaking news. Police have recovered 3 bodies suspected to be those of 3 police officers who went missing on their way to Polokwane last week. The bodies of a male and a female were recovered yesterday, and EWN can now reveal that the body of the female has been positively identified as one of the missing police officers. A third body and the white VW Polo they were travelling in has just been discovered near the N1 highway. Police have cordoned off that scene. We will have more on the story in our later bulletins. President Cyril Ramaphosa's Phala scandal is far from over, with Action SA now filing an application to obtain police watchdog IPID's report into the matter. The findings of IPID's probe on the theft of foreign currency at Ramaphosa's farm has been classified as top secret. IPID was roped in to investigate the conduct of Ramaphosa's VIP protection officers who allegedly travelled to Namibia to track down the perpetrators and recover the stolen money. And as calls mount for Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana to resign over the latest budget debacle, the Mkhonto party wants Parliament to act against him. It's written to the Speaker requesting a motion of no confidence to be considered. Those are the headlines. This EWN and more at midday or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Travelling on the N12 West, we've got delays between Edenville Road and the Gilulis interchange. There's also slow-moving traffic on the N3 South between the Gilulis turnoff and Van Buren Road. While travelling on the M1 South, delays between the Crown interchange and Boysons Road. That's due to roadworks that are taking place between those 2 points. Please be on the lookout there. While on the M2 West towards Mayfair, delays from the Crown interchange to Main Reef Road. In the city of Tshwane, we've got a major accident reported on the N1 South right near the Brackfontein interchange, causing delays coming out of John Forster Drive. Please approach with care. There's about a 15-minute hold up there. I'll have more updates at the top of the hour.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Hi, I'm Lewis Hamilton. Victory demands everything, but the journey is never solo. My team carves the way, data and innovation are my compass. This is how today's champions are made.
Drive your success and trade like a champion. CFI, a global leading broker now in South Africa. Access over 15,000 instruments, advanced trading tools, 24/7 support, and superior trading services. Visit cfi.trade today. CFI Financial is an authorized financial services provider.
CFI, empower yourself.
To walk the talk is to turn words into meaningful actions. And it's what we at 702 are committed to doing every day. We are also committed to following the rules set out by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission's Code of Conduct. To give you balanced programming, fair comments, and accurate news. But if we stumble along the way and you feel we are not living up to the code, let us know on comment@702.co.za. And if after that you're still not happy, you can direct your complaint in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission. Email bccsa@nabsa.co.za. For more, visit bccsa.co.za.
Make soccer season legendary with Hollywood Bets. Aziz Shagay, Let's Play takes your disky passion to the next dimension. Light up the games with your best bet slip and stand a chance to win your share of 2 million rand in prizes, including a brand new Toyota Fortuner. Bet a minimum of 10 rand on any soccer fixture to qualify. T's and C's apply. Hollywood Sportsbook is a licensed betting operator. Hollywood Bets supports responsible gambling. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counselling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp HELP to 076 675 0710.
Weekday evenings at 6.
Jane Dutton, I'm in for Stephen Croetus. So we're seeing beef prices skyrocket amid cattle and feed crisis.
We are coming from a season that negatively impacted South Africa's agriculture sector at large, mainly on grains, and that's a key component for the sector. And recently, we are having lower numbers in terms of those that are getting into the commercial abattoirs. So those are some of the things that are leading to the crisis.
Tabila Nkojana, agricultural economist.
The Money Show
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
The Money Show is brought to you by ABSA CIB. ABSA is a proud lead sponsor of B20 South Africa 2025. ABSA is a registered FSP. Your story matters. 702, let's walk the talk.
Are you a loyal 702 listener? Do you love listening to 702? Would you like to see our studios and maybe even record a message about 702? Well, then we'd like to invite you to come and see us. We will take you on a tour of our lovely building and show you our studios. And then would like to hear from you about how we can improve and be an even better radio station. We'll be hosting another 702 visit on Friday at lunchtime, also next week Friday. So if you'd like to get this opportunity to visit 702 on Friday and next Friday, just send us an email on contact@702.co.za to visit us. You can email us at that email address, contact@702.co.za. Come and visit us. We'd like to meet you and hear from you. You're invited to come and walk the talk with us.
Clement is on X
at The Real Clement M.
Coming up next, the 702 afternoons. It's been a long weekend.
What were you about to say?
I nearly said midday report.
Oh, wow.
I even forgot the name of my show.
Do you think Mandy and I should swap shows for a day?
No, that would be cool.
I would die. I would be so panicked.
Wouldn't that be cool one day where we do like a swap over? Like
so John
everybody
Pillman and
moves
I
from their shows to do other shows.
John Pillman and I are doing it for my 40 before 40.
Oh, that's cool.
Yes, so his recommendation was let's swap shows for a day.
That would be cool.
And we keep our teams, but we swap shows. So we just have to...
Wait, you move with your teams?
No.
Or they stay on the shows and
they
you just
stay on the
move?
shows,
Yeah,
yes. So it's fully out of one another's comfort zones.
Yeah.
And so that's still on the cards because
That
I'm
would be
still
so
I'm
cool.
still ticking this bucket list. I'm scared. All
what
right.
I would like to do is traffic.
Would you?
Like on the day, like just...
Do you know
do
though
the traffic. I
that
don't know anything about that.
you have to be able to look at a map and recite
I've seen,
in
like,
real time?
Look at a map and I'm like, oh my
Yes.
God. Yeah,
Yes.
but I would like it as a challenge. I'd like it as a challenge.
To do traffic.
Yeah.
I just feel like
I think that would be cool.
the listeners would not like it. They'd say Clement didn't tell us.
Yeah. Or Clement said Butle instead of Batlu interchange. Because I'm that guy.
All right, coming up on the show, our tech feature, we're talking about AI-powered gut health technology, and we're going to be speaking to the Oryx group of companies and the co-founder of Umvuzo Health around that. Our series edition on traveling with Flight Centre. It's the last episode. We talk about unpacking travel scams. We'll be joined today by Lynette Machiri, a customer experience leader at Flight Centre. Our car feature, we're talking about comprehensive driving. We'll be joined by the founder of Comprehensive Driving Solution, Lorenzo
Gualtieri. But what we kick off with is asking a simple question. We're fresh out of public holiday weeks. We still got another one coming up. And I want to know, because it's in our minds, is South Africa ready for a 4-day work week?
Yes, ma'am. Make it 3.5 days.
Like, is the country ready? Because we have gone through weeks. I mean, I was here yesterday. You were not.
Yeah,
shame on you.
I can do 5 days.
and it was like quiet, right?
Yeah.
The roads were empty. And I was like, okay, if we can have a week where people are not in on a Friday, not in on a Monday, and the country still continued, why can't we do a 4-day work week?
The happiness index would shoot up.
Right.
And also we would be even more productive. Like, I don't mind doing a 4-hour show as long as I don't come to work on a Friday and a Monday.
Really?
Yeah. Give me a 4-hour show any day.
Here's a thought. I'm saying, what if the compromise is that we become a 24-hour economy, but we do 4-day work weeks? And I don't know what would you?
I will.
Okay.
Let's organize a protest, and then we just protest to the union buildings. Guys, if we want this ourselves,
we have to do it.
Let's do it. I will join that protest any day.
Okay.
Because 5 days is just...
It's too much.
It's just too much.
Okay. All right.
That's what's coming up on 7:02 afternoons with President Ekurhuleni Mayor, our shop steward, who is leading a 4-day working week. It's 20 minutes now before 12.
7:02.
Health and wellness.
Let's get into our health and wellness feature now. And today we're discussing hormonal imbalances. I want us to really understand hormonal imbalances and how we get affected by them, because there's a lot, right? We get affected so much in different ways as a result of hormonal imbalances. I mean, hormones play a critical role in not just regulating many essential functions in the body, but even like metabolism or your mood to growth and reproductive health. So there's a lot that gets affected, and I think especially us as men, we don't really talk a lot about those hormonal imbalances. We only think it's something that only affects women, whether you talk about menopause or otherwise. So we've invited Dr. Matume Kanaga, who is a general practitioner who's going to guide us through this conversation and teach us more about our hormones and how we get affected. And how do we deal with those imbalances? Dr. Kanaga, thank you so much for making time for us. Good morning.
Good morning, and 702 lenders.
Let's start with just the definition of hormones. So when we talk about hormones, and we'll get to the imbalances in a moment, but when we talk about hormones, what are they and why are they so critical just for our overall bodily function?
I think the Lord, as He is one, He created one body that operates as one. Our bodies have got different systems, but they all operate as one. So between the systems in our body, there are messengers that are running around, running from this system to the other system, called hormones. Those are basically messengers that will pick up message from the brain and go specifically to a particular organ, so that organ can perform its function. So naturally, our bodies, our parts cannot operate independently, but there is a president who is the brain that will send a message, then the message will go to a system and tell the system to function.
Okay. And then what about the imbalances then? What are some of the common causes of those hormonal imbalances in both men and women?
Hormones are proteins. Hormones, for them to become to a state where they are not balanced, can be a state where one is not eating healthy, where, as I'm saying, for example, proteins. Proteins are amino acids. Amino acids, they are very critical, very vital in the formation of hormones. So if you're not eating enough proteins, you're likely to have issues. Exercising, for example, a typical example, as males, we need testosterone. Testosterone is our lead hormone. It needs to be produced, and as we exercise, we produce enough levels. So if you are a male, you're overweight, you're not exercising, you're not eating well, your testosterone is likely to go down, and then we will call that male a hormone imbalanced male. And a lot of things can go wrong when the hormones are not well balanced. Weight can be an issue. If we're not maintaining a good weight, we're not having enough healthy cells to produce hormones that we need. Improper diet. It's important to have a good and healthy gut health. If your gut is not digesting properly, and therefore it will not absorb properly, and therefore your body will not have sufficient nutrients to produce those hormones. High intake of sugar, for example. Sugar, it's nice. I think we all love sugar, but unfortunately it's not very nice to our bodies. It can also affect our bodies negatively. Stress level, for example, you can produce a whole lot of cortisol hormone, for example. That's a stress hormone. That will disturb a whole lot of things from your sleep to your fertility to your moods. There's a lot of things that can go wrong if you've got too much of a cortisol hormone. Not sleeping very well. We often recommend 7 to 8 hours of a good sleep, because when you sleep, your body does its maintenance. It releases necessary hormones. It sweeps and cleans and polishes whatever needs to be polished. So if you don't sleep very well, unfortunately, you don't balance your hormones. You face a day with yesterday's hormones, and therefore the body cannot function optimally. And of course, your fats, for example, not eating healthy fats. Fats are bad, fats are also good. We've got good fats that helps our bodies to form hormones and balance itself. So failure to balance any of those can easily result in an imbalanced hormones.
Oh, okay, got it. So, how do we then balance the hormones? Because if we talk about the imbalances, is there a way where if I pick up that, okay, maybe this may be as a result of a hormonal imbalance, and how do I even know that, Dr. Kanaka? Is it possible to pick up a symptom and say, this must be a reason of this, of a hormonal imbalance, and how do I then balance it?
Yeah. Commonly with males, if your libido suddenly changes, that might be a flag telling you something is not right. Yeah, erectile dysfunctions. Some male will report even muscle loss. There's a condition we call gynecomastia. If a male develops breasts that are growing like that of a female, and unexplained high level of fatigue. If you're a male and you suddenly have mood swings like you're a woman, that can also be suggesting. And in female, menstrual irregularities, you can suddenly have acne, again mood changes, weight fluctuations, skin problems like your pigment, acne, that's very unusual. You can even have hair losses because of abnormal hormones. So seeing any of those in your body, that might be telling you that your hormones are not at their level best.
Okay. 011-883-0702. That's the number you can dial. The WhatsApp line is 072-702-1702. Have you experienced perhaps symptoms that made you wonder if your hormones might be out of balance? And if you've got any questions or concerns that you want to raise with Dr. Kanaka, give us a call or send us that WhatsApp voice note. 13 minutes now before 12.
Your voice.
Your questions.
Your morning radio with Clement Manyathela.
This is 702.
I'm seeing some questions here, Dr. Kanaka, about what people can do to just, like, for instance, even with lifestyle factors. What is it that we need to do, especially in as far as our lifestyle factors are concerned, like your diet, your sleep, as you mentioned earlier, because those play a role in the hormone regulation. So what advice do you have for us as far as our lifestyle choices are concerned?
Yeah, I think, definitely the best way is to go as natural as you can. Yes, as I think as you highlighted, diet plays a primary role. If your diet is good and proper, that means you're eating healthy fats, you're eating healthy amount of proteins. That's good enough. Exercise, if you're stimulating your body balances. Remember, exercise also will improve your sleep pattern. Sometimes people are not sleeping very well because you did not exhaust the amount of energy you had for the day. So by exercising, you exhaust yourself. By the time you sleep enough to go into what we call a REM sleep. Your REM sleep, that's where the maintenance and repair happens. So if you sleep that shallow sleep, unfortunately, You might have closed your eyes, but you're not sleeping. That will not allow your body to do the maintenance and repair. Reduce your stress levels. We understand the economy is tough. We understand things are not as affordable as they're supposed to. Relationships are difficult, but find ways. Cope. If you've got stress levels, find a way. See a psychologist, see a therapist who can help you, that you improve your situations. And having a good night's sleep, and watch your sugars. Cut as much as you can, that you don't take more than what your body requires.
Okay. I've got some WhatsApps coming through. Let's start here.
Morning, Clement and the doctor. I had breast cancer, and immediately after chemotherapy, I was given the hormone Xylotex in injection form. It actually helped me because now that I'm supposed to be going through menopause, I don't have it in a bad way. I'm just okay. Thanks, Dima.
Thank you so much for that. Yeah. Dr. Khanaka?
No, indeed. There are cancers that are hormone sensitive. So usually such women, after they go through surgery, the cancer get removed. So to avoid other cells activating, they would normally put her on hormonal therapy, just to ensure that there are no remaining cells that will activate and become cancerous again. And naturally, there are stages where our bodies will go through hormonal changes. A common example, or simple and obvious example, when a child goes through puberty, when a male starts developing beard, the voice deepens. In case of a girl, the body shapens like that of a woman, the breasts grow, and so on and so forth. It's natural, it's puberty. During pregnancy, a woman would go in a natural state where the hormones are changing. You'd find somebody who's a yellow bone, suddenly they are now chocolate brown. And also in women, stage of menopause. When menopause comes, it's a natural thing. When menopause comes, the hormones are changing. They are telling you you're not as young as you were before. So, but going through all those stages, whenever the symptoms are extreme or uncomfortable, as medical practitioners, we are able to intervene to a certain degree to assist balancing those hormones. A woman who's going through menopause doesn't sleep, has insomnia, has unstable moods, has hot flashes. Those are very unbearable, very uncomfortable. Such a woman, seeing a practitioner, going through the tests, once it's confirmed, we can, for example, put that woman on hormone replacement therapy after having collected history, having known if she's not one of those with the hormone sensitive cancers, then we can put that woman on hormone replacement so that their lives are comfortable.
Okay. And are there any specific life stages where hormonal imbalance is more likely? I mean, for women, we often, hear about not just puberty, but pregnancy, as you mentioned, menopause. But for men, are there specific stages?
I think commonly we see it around midlife. Because I think generally around midlife, it's either you've achieved the goals you wanted to achieve or you have not. You're striving very hard. As we mentioned, sleep is one of those. If you're working too hard, trying to catch up with milestones that are behind, or if you have created maybe far too many debts, you're stressed a lot, you're working overtimes and all of those, unfortunately, that age group, that's why we commonly see problems. So I think generally lifestyle is the biggest factor.
Good morning, Clement. It's Tibalo here. As the doctor is saying, I've grown the breast. I don't know how do I remove those, because wow, it's stressful. Really, it stresses me. I'm a man, but now I have a chest like a lady. I feel so embarrassed. How do I remove those? Are they removable?
Thank you for that question. Dr. Khanaka?
Yeah, I think one, we need to figure out what is the cause, what triggered him to develop the gynecomastia. If it's weight, we will normally encourage them to lose weight. And of course, some as they lose weight, also the size of the breast will reduce. But if there's other issues, the hormones are not in order, there are syndromes that go with gynecomastia. If it's the syndrome, then they need to be treated. But if everything else is okay, yes, they can also be surgically removed.
Okay. And then I've got a question from Pulani who says, Clement, please ask the doctor that I'm a 45-year-old lady and my period is abnormal with a heavy flow. Can this be a hormone issue? I thought by now it would have slowed down considering my age.
Yeah, most likely, yes, it's hormones and menopause. Remember, the start of menopause also depends on how soon they started their periods. The sooner a woman starts her period, the sooner she will go into menopause.
Okay.
If the woman starts her periods late, their menopause will come later. So the age group for menopause is usually between 40 and 55. So being 45, she's most likely to be going through either a perimenopausal state, which is where the periods will become abnormal. They may disappear and not come. They may become heavier. She might bleed longer days than usual. But I would suggest she sees her doctor so that they can run the test and confirm what exactly it is.
All right. Sam, you're calling us from Woodmead. Good morning.
Yes, it's Sam. Yeah, I had prostate cancer.
Yeah.
And I had a Bankry treatment, which they put about 35 seeds of radiation into my prostate. And after that, I went for radiation for 25 days. Now, my testosterone, it's gone very, very low. It's about 89. Yes, it's very low, which they were saying it might be over 300 to 400. I'm 75 years old.
Okay, so you want to know how you can maybe get it back up?
Yeah, to build up. Yeah, it just killed me completely. I'm daughter, man.
No, I hear you, Sam. Thank you for the question. Dr. Khanaka?
Yeah, I think yes. He's spot on there. Once your testosterone is low, I think he needs one. I would suggest he communicates with the treating doctor. There are ways of supplementing the testosterone if it's extremely on the low side. But as I said initially, the natural ways are the best. Exercising, eating healthy, and making sure you've got enough of those proteins and healthy fats in the system. But there are capsules, there are tablets, there are injectables that are available that can help to boost that testosterone level. But I'm glad a lot of men are phoning. I hope a lot of men will now go see their doctors.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Dr. Khanaka, we're out of time, but I do think we should do part 2 of this conversation because we've got so many calls and WhatsApps that have come through that we haven't had time for. It's 3 minutes now before 12.
Let's toast to Khumalo, Sithole and Associates.
Khumalo, that's me, a partner at the table. If I had it my way, I would have made it Khumalo, Sithole, Abo Baba Nabo Auntie, who helped with money for registration fees when I was short. And don't forget my grandfather, Umtungwa. He's usually in overalls, but today, uswenkile. They all worked hard to get me here. So kahle, they really are partners in this business.
Experience the power of mutuality. In 2024, we allocated 5.6 billion Rand in profit share to our graduate professional members because at PPS, success is better shared. Learn more at pps.co.za. PPS is a licensed life insurer, controlling company and authorized FSP.
Honey, what are you doing?
I'm stretching for tonight.
I thought you're not dancing at bachelorette parties anymore.
Baby, we need the money to put Johnny through matriek mos.
And what's the police uniform for?
The clients feel safer when I wear it.
No, man, just sell your bakkie to We Buy Cars. They give the best prices and they pay you within minutes.
Okay, but can I just go and dance one more time, please? You know how much I love it.
No, the buyer's already on his way here.
Wow, okay.
Strapped for cash? Just sell your vehicle to We Buy Cars. The easiest way to sell your car by far.
My family's struggling with snotty noses and phlegmy coughs.
Oh no! Have you tried ACC?
ACC 600 is a convenient one-a-day effervescent tablet from 14 years of age, or now also in a no-water-needed, fruity-flavored sherbet-like granules that dissolve in your mouth. Ideal for the on-the-go adult. Ask for ACC 600 effervescent or oral powder at your nearest pharmacy to get rid of the snotties and Flemings. And trust, if it doesn't say ACC, it's not ACC.
Some walks are just for exercise, others for leisure. But this walk is for something greater.
It's team building.
This July, you won't just take a step, you'll take a stand. You'll walk through history. You'll walk with it. On Sunday, 27 July, the 702 Walk the Talk, hosted by Freedom Park in the city of Tshwane, returns. It's a route that winds through the heart and soul of our capital city. From the sacred grounds of Freedom Park to the powerful steps of the Union buildings. Choose the 8-kilometer for those walking strong, the 6.7-kilometer in honor of Mandela Month, or the 4-kilometer for families and first-timers. Entries are 360 Rand for adults, 200 Rand for children under 12. Enter now on primemediaplus.com. 702 Walk the Talk, hosted by Freedom Park in the city of Tshwane, is where footsteps become footprints.
Coming up next, the Midday Report with Mandy Winner. How are you doing?
I'm good, thanks, Clem.
What's popping today?
We're just waiting for the police to confirm there's a development in the search. They've intensified the search for the 3 missing constables. The Transport Minister has been releasing Easter traffic stats. The Gauteng Premier has launched an investigation into government property rental. We'll get an update on the fire in Cape Town. We'll also speak to the Minister of Water about the Vaal Dam levels, and then a closing argument in the Jocelyn Smith trial.
Yeah,
as well.
I saw the fire starting in Cape Town because I was in Cape Town this weekend, and I remember driving and thought, oh, look at that. I hope it's not going to blow up like what we've often seen. And to see that it's still raging today, it's quite crazy. That's the Midday Report coming up with Mandy Winner. We'll be back again with you tomorrow between 9 and 12. Thank you for listening today, my friends. Bye-bye.
This is EWN.
Good afternoon, I'm Bali Lamini. We begin with news just in. Police have recovered 3 bodies suspected to be those of 3 police officers who went missing on their way to Polokwane last week. The bodies of a male and female were recovered yesterday. Last week, Wednesday, Constables Linda Cebekulu, Yamogeti Base and Buipuile Sinoge went missing after travelling from Bloemfontein to their area of deployment in Limpopo. Police offered a 350,000 Rand reward for information about their whereabouts. We take you live now to our reporter Oren Singh, who is at the scene of the police operation in Centurion on this matter. Oren, what can you tell us?
Well, in Bali, police have cordoned off a portion of the N1 highway that has near a bridge that's crossing over the Henops River. Now, there's a large police presence here, search and rescue members as well as drone operators. Earlier, they launched a drone into the sky that scoured a portion of the Henops River. They thought they had found the white VW Polo that the officers had been traveling in, but that turned out to be negative. Currently, as things stand in Bali, they've recovered 2 bodies. That was yesterday, a male and a female, and we understand that the female has been positively identified as one of the officers who is presumed missing. They're still searching for the vehicle. They're still searching for one more body of a female officer. And operations are ongoing. We heard that National Police spokesperson Atlinda Mate is on her way, and she'll provide us with further updates as soon as she reaches the scene. For Eyewitness News, I'm Oren Singh reporting live from Centurion.
We shift our focus to this now. Road fatalities have dropped 32% over the 2025 Easter long weekend. The Transport Department has described this as a major step in improving safety on the country's roads. The department has been briefing the media on this year's Easter Road Safety Report, which covers the period between April the 17th and the 21st. Officials have been outlining the impact of heightened police visibility, public awareness campaigns and strategic roadblocks. Transport Minister Barbara Creasy says this year's Easter period recorded the lowest number of fatalities in 3 years, with 141 people losing their lives as compared to 209